Anybody here? I don't know what's going on. What the hell's going on with these things lately? What did... So why did it do that? This thing's ridiculous, man. I've been streaming for years and now this thing just doesn't work right. It's completely, like, wrong now. I don't know if everybody's getting it. Like, we had a problem last week, and now it's a problem this week. And nobody knows when to come in. I think there's people here. I don't even see. Nothing's working right. Hello? No, it's a new stream now. There's a completely new one now. It's like all wrong. Like, I don't know. These companies have to stop changing these little details that you get used to using. Like, I don't mind if you improve the technology, but like, why do you have to change just the interface like that much so that, you know, like the way it works? Like, you don't have to do that. Like, they dumb it down so you just got to press a button, but that makes it harder because then you have to... Good, you guys can hear us. What's up, guys? Sorry, we're just kind of kvetching because... Yeah, no, I know that they can hear us. It's just, ugh. This is so fucking stupid. Like, the last couple of streams have just been like endless problems. I don't know what's going on. Like, I think it's just me. Maybe I'm just fucking getting old. Anyway. So can you guys hear Camilla? Make sure we can hear everybody. Patrick says he blames the government. All right, tell your friends. Yeah. Let me just make sure the levels are good because everything's all fucking wrong. Say something cute.
Oh, thank you.
There we go. I had you muted because I wasn't sure what was working.
Oh,
okay.
You're muted.
I had you muted. So anyway, guys, hello. Sorry about being late, and we're very sorry about the bullshit. We had a little bit of a weird day. Nothing bad, just distracted. And then ADD time blind kicked in. We watched a couple of JonTrons, and JonTron is a great fucking show, but it can suck your life away if you're not careful. I wish JonTron would put out more content. Let's just put it that way. All right. Let's have a nice palate cleanse. Someone, yeah, someone.
Fraba.
Yeah, Fraba the Gusa. Live in La Fraba Gusa. How about that?
I like that.
Like, we've all heard living La Vida Loca. Let's live La Fraba Gusa.
Come
on, guys. Say it with me. Live in La Fraba Gusa.
Live in La... Yeah, that's a tongue twister. I don't know if I could say that. Live in La Fraba Gusa.
Live in La Fraba Gusa.
I did say it. Okay.
You did say it. Yeah.
I get a trophy.
It's also not that big a deal because I think everybody was watching Behemoth X's premiere because he just like posted his premiere at the same time. So you know what, guys? Give me one more second. I am gonna do me a favor if you are on social media besides this, of course. Do me a favor, if you know people that like my stuff or you like sharing my stuff, just do it real quick so we can get a few more people on here because it's all screwed up. Let me post this on my socials here. You know, I need to get one of those apps. There are apps that make it so you can just like share your streams to everything. All right, hold on. Keep them entertained, honey. Do some dancing or something.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Jay Baldell. It's all extensions. I have finally learned how to do it.
You mean buy it and clip it in?
Yeah, no, I braided these myself.
That's right. You did braid them.
I did this myself.
That's right.
I'm very proud of it. I mixed the colors and everything.
Like when you're strutting around, you look like some kind of like sexy chicken turkey thing. It's kind of hot.
Yeah, I figured, you know, after today, I kind of needed to feel some sort of semblance of normalcy in a way. Normalcy, like as normal as I can get, really. So I figured I'd dress up a little bit for the stream tonight in some of my club attire.
Yeah, we'll probably dress up this way next time we go to the The Sizzler. That reminds me of one of my favorite Twitter follows is this this troll called 3 Year Letterman, and he just goes around and his whole shtick is to say the wrongest thing. Like he'll say like, oh, I don't know, that George Washington was the 18th president and we have to respect him and all this stuff. He'll say like he'll find like something that's controversial and he'll step in and just say it wrong. So he just sounds like so stupid. He's a great follow if you're bored and you don't mind using Twitter, which I understand if you don't want to, because that's one of the more toxic cesspits of the internet. But I mean, shit, you could be in poll on 4chan and not get hit with that much toxicity as you get. Twitter is quite literally one of the focal points of bot trolling, shill activity, propaganda. It's like if you think that all the people that you are chatting with on Twitter are legitimate people that have legitimate views, you are sadly mistaken, my friends, because nothing could be further from the truth. The vast majority of people there are either there with an agenda or a paycheck in hand to literally do whatever they can get away with. So it is not, you know, it's disgusting. Like I use it mainly because I have some follows on there that I like, that like 3 Year Letterman, but I have some we'll call them informants. I have informants that I follow on Twitter that there are actually accounts that appear to be able, like they must be like insider accounts because they can bypass a lot of the stuff. So like this one guy I follow, his name trends all the time. And it's like, why? He never gets community noted even when he says the most ridiculous things, and he's a huge account. Apparently he's got connections with people in Africa, like African royalty, that are in on the good guy side of things. Well, we'll say white hat side of things, because there is no such thing as good guys. He's sort of in on the white hat side of things, and he puts out like an interesting mix of information, some of which I think is misinformation to kind of throw some people off the scent, but other things are pretty important and valid, and it's really interesting. I won't give the name away simply because it's sort of like one of those accounts where, you know, I will give it away, but let me put it to you like this. I am not endorsing this guy because I don't know what his deal is. I don't know whether he's just a weird conspiracy troll, like who comes up with weird shit, or if he's actually a decent source. But he's entertaining to me. Like I watch his stuff, I'm like, that's wrong. I know that's wrong. That might be right. So isn't it? His name is Ariel on Twitter, and I'll let you guys figure out the rest. Ariel. And his name, whenever he posts something important, suddenly his name trends. It's the weirdest thing. So I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he uses bots to get his name up in the trending category. I honestly don't know. But when you look at what's trending, it's not him. It's just his name. That's like a clue. Like go look at his wall. It's important. And people who follow him know this. They're like, oh, he's trending again. He must have posted something spooky. And the dude will talk about deep underground military bases. He will talk about cryptids. He will talk about people who are white hats or people who are not, but are occupying that position in public. He seems to be, I don't know, like I said, I don't think he's completely right. I think that he puts misinformation out there for whatever reason. You have to understand when it comes to some of this stuff, if they're not a loony, which is possible, sometimes they put out misinformation for reasons that, well, if you're a grown-up, you understand why that might be necessary. So it's interesting. It's a really interesting one to follow. But don't take it without, like, I don't have the giant like Himalayan salt rock next to me, but without at least a giant Himalayan salt rock, you know, that would suck. J Baldale says, I am echoing. Really weird. Let me see what that might be. It's probably, yeah, it's probably, there's no data. What the living shitbag fuck is going on? Oh, what is going on?
Yeah, let me try to close the door over here. Maybe that's it. Because sometimes it's too warm in here.
Yeah, it's got to be the door opening.
Yeah.
It's got to be that. Let me just check the. No, it's not my mic, so it's got to be the door. Yeah, sorry, Jay Baldale. That's probably what it is. Now, Hardcore Zombie, don't take it too far. Like I said, it's a guilty follow. I follow people on there. Literally, just there are accounts that I do follow that are just entertainment for me, and I'm not really big into Twitter, but it is a place that I go to exercise my dark side. I will go there to troll, to try to, and when I troll, it's different. Like I used to go on these places with the intent to like insult people and shit. I don't do that anymore. Now I mainly tease people and try to get them to think. And when I encounter a shill or bot that I recognize as obvious, then I will just go to town on them with stuff and just explode. Like, dude, you're a fucking, I know what you are. Shut up. And people got to realize that Camilla, you've heard of dead internet theory, right?
Oh yeah.
So why don't you tell us what you know about that? So I'm not sitting here.
Don't do that to me.
Come on, be hot and do it.
No, I'm not good at explaining. No, this is deer in the headlights. I can't explain that right.
Just give us a gist. Just try. Close your mind. No. Close your mind. Do it. No. Do it.
No,
do it, Linda.
I can't. You're putting too much pressure on me.
Come on, Jack. Look at my boobies.
No, you do it. You do it.
No, you do it.
No.
I want to be on the stream tonight, but don't make me do anything. Okay, so dead internet theory.
Explaining some things, okay?
I can see your heart. You see your heart pounding? It's literally pounding, like right in your like shirt. There's nobody here. It's just me and you bullshitting. All right, so dead internet theory is this idea that pretty much all or most of the internet is artificial intelligence, bots, and or shills. And if you're a Twitter user, there's a big chunk of Twitter that is just that. And I guarantee you it's the same all across the internet. So there is some merit to the dead internet theory. But dead internet, is often taken to the extreme. And what I like about some conspiracy theories is they point you towards truth through exaggeration. So for example, if I were to say to you, yes, dead internet theory is true, someone will go, no, it's not. And then they'll go researching it. And then they will find out that they'll feel vindicated because they're like, no, it's not true. It's obviously not true. A lot of people use the internet. I use it. These people use it. My friend uses it. So they'll be like, that's not true. But then if they do really enough research, they will find out that actually there's a pretty significant portion of people that aren't real on the internet and have never been real. And I first got clued into this, I don't know, it was in the noughties probably, like 2000 to 2010, because there was some kind of a controversy. I don't remember all the details, but some kind of controversy about how World of Warcraft and a competitor were feuding. And I don't remember if it was Blizzard or what, but somebody was hiring troll farms. And they had thousands of trolls that would go to the forums of the competing video game and troll everybody and try to break the community so that people didn't get along. And they would review bomb and they would do all this stuff, that a lot of negative, stuff to make people not interested. It was kind of like a big deal, but it was only big deals to like nerds like me who pay attention to those things. Like the general public doesn't know. And that's one thing that like drives me up a wall, is like, to me, this stuff is obvious, but people don't know because they're not autistic or whatever the fuck my issue is. Whatever my problem is.
But you know what it is too? It's like with the fake accounts and everything, they have that website, this person does not exist, and it gives you a random picture, yes, AI generated, and it's so easy to just say, hey, I'll just use this picture for X, Y, or Z account, and there you go. Yeah. And it generates it super quick, as with AI. Very quick to get the bot farms running.
It is really something. And, over time, they realized what a juicy thing this is. And if you so in World of Warcraft, and EVE Online and so many other games, there were Chinese gold farmers that would log in to these games, and they would usually bot. They were usually bots, like they're usually really simplistic AI bots. Command line bots, whatever they would use, and they would play the game, but they weren't playing the game. They would just run to a thing, do a thing, and then they'd level up a character and sell it. Or if it was EVE Online, they would go and they would mine and mine and mine and mine, and they would try to sell that. And it was just, they did this, and they did it because you could buy things, I think it was on eBay. You could buy for example, what was the EverQuest? People would use a bot to, because EverQuest was really easy. It's basically, if you understand EverQuest, it's basically a graphical mud. It uses many of, from what I remember hearing, it uses many of the same logic, a lot of the same logic as an old-fashioned mud. And a mud was, what was it? It was an acronym. It didn't actually mean like, you know, dirt. It was like Middle Earth. No, it was like mobile. Honestly, I don't remember. It was literally like it's like a program or something. So a mud was usually, originally, it was a text interface RPG with little or no graphics. The original ones were just text-based. They would tell you where you were. They'd say, oh, you're in a room and there's a kobold over there. And then you have choices to do. Like you could type in whatever you want. Usually you would type in like fight or something like that. And then if you were in a more graphical one, it might have more controls. So EverQuest was just an evolution of the old MUDs, the old text-based MUDs.
Multi-user dungeon.
What's that?
Multi-user dungeon.
Multi-user dungeon. That's what it was. Yeah, that's right. And the whole mob was like mobile. That meant mobile, something like mobile something or other. Mobile online bot. I don't know what it was. So like the enemies, that's why they were called mobs. That's why this lingo exists, because when you play World of Warcraft, you're like, okay, we have ads and there's like 12 mobs on us. And mob was the old lingo for the NPC bots. And mud was the thing. And so you would play these games, and you don't even know this, most of you, because most of you are too young. So they figured out how to bot those things really early. And then they would use that to make money, right? Like these old MMOs. So the same exact principle in the year 2024 is, let's say, let's take something less nefarious. Let's just make it, you've got a product you want to bring to the market. You've got a new cell phone app or something, right? So what do? Well, you could try to get something trending on Twitter. You could try to go on message forums and talk about it. And so what you do is you hire these botters, and you literally just bomb whatever your target is with these bots that look original. And they usually, because the more complicated it is, the more easy it is to like, not just spot, but like, trick. Like if you put like a big long thing, people are going to respond to it. So you want to keep it simple. Like, hey, I just found this great new game. You should try it. The end, and like, here's the link. And like people would comment on it, and like the bot would just be like, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Just like stupid shit like that. And people are so dumb. Like it literally passed the Turing test. Like a lot of people don't know they're talking to a bot, and it's not necessarily an advanced bot. Yeah, go ahead, Camilla.
What it is too is like on Instagram, when somebody puts up an ad for a product, then another bot will come along and say, hey, try my product instead.
Yep. And Jay Baldale says some old friends from high school made bank pimping out new accounts and just selling them. Yep. And just like magic, no one wants to do the hard work to be badass. That's exactly right. I actually had a roommate sort of, as like my sister's boyfriend or whatever. And I let him use my WoW account. Like, I don't care. Like, go ahead, make a character and enjoy it. The fucker started doing that shit. He was like, I don't remember what he did. He was selling items through eBay. He was doing something fucked up and got my account fucked. I was like, I almost strangled this dude. I had like a level 56 characters. This was back when I think 60 was the max. I was like, you piece of fucking dirty ass shit. Damn it. Had to start all over. That shit happens. It legit happened. So we live in a world that I wish I could just take my knowledge and my mind out of my head and just make it something you could plug into so that you could understand just how unreal the world that you think you live in is. If you knew how artificial, synthetic, made up, and designed to manipulate you, every single iota of your environment in this modern world is, I don't mean like benevolent manipulation. Like I'm a sincere person. I put on a good show, blah, 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 blah. These other people, they're lying to you about so fucking much. It's like not even fucking funny. So actually, I think there's a super. My beautiful assistant wifey did not.
I was going to, but you were on a roll.
I'm not on a roll. I'm just filling
You
air.
were.
God. God. God.
It was from CJ Anger.
Who's that?
Gee, I don't know.
Who is that though?
I don't know.
Is he nice?
He slapped us with a $9.99 and said, "Do it."
Is that nin, or is that 9.99, or is that make mine a 99?
It's an upside down 666.
Ew, that's evil. You can't do that. That's evil. That's evil black magic. You can't do that. You're gonna get us in trouble.
For $2, he says everything is scripted by someone.
That's true. Yep.
And you
That's
also
actually...
you have another question right above that.
Okay.
Malachi Odinson wants to know whatever happened to EA Coetting. He is on Odyssey now?
I think he's still on Odyssey.
I'm pretty sure he's on Odyssey.
We're still friendly, but we haven't really talked in a long time. Like, we kind of just drifted apart a little bit. But he's a nice guy still. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's not anymore. He's always a nice guy to me. So, you know.
Once in a while, he'll float through the stream in the chat.
What's that? Once
in a while, he floats through the stream in the chat.
Yeah, once in a while he does show up. He will go by EA Coetting, like he's phoneticizes.
Enunciated.
Yeah, he enunciates it. And then there's yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I hope he's okay. I haven't watched him in a little while. You know, partially it's like I have ADHD and I didn't really watch him that often anyway. I would watch him a little bit, you know, when I first got into this. A little bit more after, like, you know, we became friends. But honestly, I don't watch many people's YouTube channels. Like, nobody I know anyway. It's like I will watch, like, I have a lot of YouTube channels I like, but like the Vedanta Society of New York, like that's not a regular person's YouTube channel. After School, Bright Insight, you know, what's his name? Uncharted X, Randall Carlson. Like, there's a lot of people I'll watch, but no people like in this spectrum. And I'll tell you why. That's because 99% of the stuff that I see on these subjects is either the little bit that I do watch, it's not usually stuff that really does much for me. You know, even the people that I would recommend to you, they're not necessarily people that I watch because, like, I'll watch them to get a gist and I'll be like, yeah, they're pretty knowledgeable. Good. Why don't you guys watch them? They're not in the same pattern of interest that I'm in. Like, I begin from a metaphysical and mystical perspective, and then that informs everything else. Other people are more pragmatic. Like, they're more into practical magic. They want to know what color candle to use here. And I'm not even into that, really. I got into it for a couple of years to see if I was missing out on some stuff, and I learned as much as I could about what other people were doing. I understood the theory behind it, and that's what I was interested in, because once you know the theory behind it, you can then reduce that, or maybe not reduce that, but you can weaponize that, shall we say, to become your own patterns and your own ideas. Because most of the stuff that we're working with from the grimoire traditions, so you're talking about, you know, solomonic magic, like the Lesser Key of Solomon, you're talking about the Goetia, you're talking about Golden Dawn and Rosicrucianism. There is a lot of juicy stuff in them, but say, for example, the Lesser Keys of Solomon, it's literally just, it's a cookbook without any instruction on how to cook. You know, to be like, make a layman, do this, do that. What does that even mean? So you have to do all this research, which is important, but it's anachronistic. It's like you're joining the Society for Creative Anachronism and making a suit of chainmail and beating somebody up in your front lawn with a fucking rattan sword, and you think you're a medieval knight, but you're not. So most of these magical traditions that we have access to are quite anachronistic. That doesn't mean they're wrong, but in a lot of cases they are made up. And I don't mean made up in a benevolent way. They are, like, often they are the work of a charlatan trying to sell their book to medieval royalty and shit. So if you're talking about like the French grimoires, a lot of them are just made up to sell to, you know, wealthy French people, that, you know, royal society and such, where these things were more tolerated. That doesn't mean they're all bullshit. I'm just saying, understand that. And a lot of them are the equivalent in many ways. Like, I remember Styx Hexenhammer. One of the things that impressed me about him was one of the first videos I saw about him back in like 2017 or it was like 2015, was his video about the Necronomicon. And he was very, 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 very on point when he's like, you know, his opinion of it was basically, people shit on it thinking that it's this great big fake thing, as if all the other books are not great big fake things. But if you actually deep dive what the Necronomicon does, it was indeed made by occultists that knew what they were doing, because the patterning of its practice was just astrotheurgy with a Sumerian theme attached. So the idea was, you're creating these sigils or gates or whatever, these lamens, basically, these veves, these different, whatever your word for it is, these sigils, so you're making these gates, right? These gate symbols. Like Patchwork went through it and he did a really good job with it. Like Patchy's doing well with it, at least the last I heard. Speaking of Patchwork, here he is with another super. You want to read that for him there, my little twisted wifey?
And I must say, it was awesome hearing from him about his experiences when he was on the stream too.
Yeah.
Patrick sends a $5. He says, yeah, he posted on Odyssey a day ago, if anyone is wondering about EA.
So yeah, he seems to be fine. I'll have to snoop. I don't use Odyssey anymore. Like I'm sure my stuff uploads to it, but I don't even look at it. I'm more interested in Rumble. Of course, Rumble tends to have issues, but so a lot of these traditions they're filled with blinds. They are in many cases made up. That doesn't mean that they don't use real symbolism or real ideas, just like Necronomicon. And I would include many of my works to a degree, except I'm not creating charlatan works. I'm not trying to say, so here's how I would distinguish, right? To me, a legit charlatan is someone who says, this is the real key of Solomon that came to us from, you know, greater antiquity, and it's whole and complete, and here you go. This is the secret grimoire that's supposed to be so spooky. When in reality, it is a book of twisted, kabbalistic, you know, and it is Solomonic, but is it really? Is this what Solomon used, right? So probably not. I think it's fairly safe to say that by the year 1600 or so, whenever the Lesser Keys of Solomon came out, it's probably safe to say that those, like the Lemegeton, those are probably not actually Solomon. Those are probably someone's interpretation of the idea of Solomon. And utilizing medieval concepts of magic, you can tell because there are things that are not found prior, but only appear either after or alongside, or you know, things like that. And that doesn't mean that they don't have legitimate. Let me be clear again. I'm not saying that you can't use them. You absolutely can. And I think that's my point. And I think that's the point Styx was making, is that if you're expecting to have like authentic magical documentation, then you had better go like Greek magical papyri. You had better go, you know, Hermetic. You better go Vedic. Go Chinese, like Taoist. Those are 100% either authentic with blinds in them, or they're completely authentic, or they're just superstition, but they're authentic superstition. But in case you guys have not noticed, my whole shtick is to help you understand that most of that is, and I'm going to say this unkindly, but I don't mean it as nastily as I mean it, they are mostly utter bullshit, because they are rooted not in you having a metaphysical understanding, but they become empty symbolic superstition. They don't give you a bridge between the symbolism and consciousness or mind. They don't do that. They are almost always, with few exceptions, a kind of, they're an artistic expression of something, or they're a complete fraud, or they're a blind, or they're a superstition, or there's some, you have to understand, anything that comes out of the medieval period, I get really antsy about, especially in Europe, because you have to understand the culture of Europe at the time. You're talking about a culture where real mysticism that's not Christian is thrown on fires. You know what I mean? It's thrown on stakes and burned. And a lot of the time, these things were fraudulent, or they were designed to get around that by changing maybe the way things are described. So, for example, the Goetic system didn't actually come from, like, the spirits of the Goetia. If you ever actually, this is where I get frustrated with people, because people don't research. They don't fact check. They don't try to figure out. They literally just believe superstitiously this is real. This is why I laugh a little bit when I see like the demonolators. They're like, oh, the Goetia, these demons are completely real. Exactly. Objectively, no. Symbolically, perhaps. But here's the problem. The Goetia, one of the reasons I got bored of it is because I realized with complete certainty that every single one of those entries in the Goetia is taking medieval superstition from a book by Johann Weyer called the Pseudomonarchia Demonium, meaning the false hierarchy of demons. And that book was a medieval manuscript trying to assert that all of these beings that he had in this book, these names, were mental illness. And this was during the medieval period when mental illness was a new concept. He was trying to propose that they weren't real. So in other words, the list of deities or entities in the Goetia is literally like going in history. It would be like going to an insane asylum, and these people would tell you, I am possessed by Baal, I am possessed by Astaroth, and all these different, and taking that, filtering it through a lens of this is insanity, taking those entries and putting them in the Lemegeton, whatever, the Goetia, and making it a system. It's like you're trying to contact medieval madness, is what you're doing. And the fucked up thing is they are all ultimately based on the superstitious culture that they're founded in, which is generally a corruption of pagan and other folk spirits. And in many cases, they're not even the authentic thing, because unfortunately, most of our mythologies going back to antiquity are rooted in what is almost certainly some degree of cargo cultism, like whatever the Atlanteans were, ancient aliens or what. These were, so if you want to know the truth, the Norse actually have probably a better way of approaching it, because they see the gods as their ancestors. So the Norse deities, they are deified ancestors to them, and they are no different than like Egyptian pharaohs or something that are mummified and have eternal life. And you have to understand the ancient Egyptians, at least from the period we understand. This doesn't mean Atlantis Egyptians. We're talking about like the Egyptian culture from like whatever, 4, 5, 6,000 BC, 3,000, 4,000, whatever, up till like what, like 100 BC or something. They saw a lot of those gods as distant spiritual ancestors, or the parents of their pharaohs and whatnot. And this system was copied in Greece and in Rome, and this is why Caesar is like a demigod in the Roman culture at the time. And they are deified, and the idea is that these people are deified, presumably deservedly so, and that they exist after death, and you can still call upon them to help you. That's where a lot of this comes from. Not all of it, obviously, but a lot of this comes from. And so the understanding is, if you start going down these rabbit holes and you connect the ancient aliens concept to it, and whatever that is, the ancient Atlanteans, Lemuria, what if we're not talking about gods at all? We're just talking about deified ancestors or deified aliens that people in a cargo cult fashion are engaging with. And maybe some of them may even still be alive in the sense that we understand. Maybe they're still embodied and they're walking around on their UFOs, and every now and then, like, it's like, oh, I'm getting a psychic, you know. I don't think so. I think that's going a little far. But it's possible these are just astral beings that are ancestors. They're ascended masters or ascended people, or they're deified ancestors that one way or another exist in that way. Now, I start getting sort of a pain in my mental ass when I start thinking about these things, because you start getting twisted up with the question of what the fuck are they? How do you know they're real or not? When are they real? When are they not real? When are they just your imagination? When are they a legitimate thing? And that's not an easy thing. This is why, if you ever notice when people say, like I'll have a guest on like Eddie, and someone will be like, are spirits real? And Eddie and I always have the same kind of like guilty look at each other. We laugh and we go, define real and give me 3 examples, because that's part of the problem. We don't have necessarily an objective definition of what a real spirit is. Most people have absolutely no clue about the metaphysics involved. Most people are completely blind to that because they have been fed a pop culture fiction, intentionally, I might add, to disrupt your ability to connect with whatever the truth of these matters are. The more and more I delve into this subject, the less and less I respect, like, the grimoire tradition and the so-and-so tradition, because it is almost always just superstitious stuff that misrepresents a much more rational understanding. In my opinion, you can, of course, use magic without a mystical understanding, just like you can use a computer without knowing how the internet works or how programming languages work. But if you really want to actually make any kind of use of it that's meaningful at all, you should be learning the metaphysics, the mystical metaphysics behind it. And at which point, if you understand that, then you can start applying that understanding, and you'll actually be able to tell this tradition is legitimate, this one's just some cargo cult bullshit. And that's difficult in the beginning. And it's something I'm still learning. I'm still getting a grip, because even my mystical, metaphysical understanding is growing. And I'm getting now, like, I feel like I'm finally getting mystical metaphysics 101. Like, I could pass that course with 100 now. I still got all the other courses to go through, right? And I make no, you know, I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, I'm a grand master of this tradition. I don't do that. I hate that. I think that that's a kind of blind, if you ask me. By like, oh, I've mastered this tradition. That's a blind, because you tend to just be parroting what other people have said. You're not really deep diving it. You're not really taking it apart and working on it. You're not actually learning the material. You're learning to parrot, because most people in the modern world have not been trained to think or teach themselves. They have been taught to copy. Prove me wrong. Most people in the world today are not taught to think or create. They are taught to copy and parrot and emulate. And this is why a genuine act of creative action is so rare and hard, especially in the modern world. This is why everything's so derivative. It's not just because everything under the sun's already been done. That's true to a degree. But the issue is that people don't think new thoughts. They think thoughts that someone's already told them in a new way at best, on average. Because most people, when they're born, their creativity is stifled, and their ability to conform is elevated. And so what happens when you start to become a truth seeker? Guess what you tend to do? Look at what you guys are doing right now. No offense. You guys are listening to me. Are you thinking these deep thoughts in your... I'm not saying stop listening to me, obviously. Are you thinking the deep thoughts on your own without my coaxing? Are you sitting there when you're taking a shower wondering what reality is? Or do you just wash your hair? Do you actually contemplate your own divinity, or do you listen to Thorne and just believe what he says? Really examine your actual thought processes. Really examine your actual mindset. How many of you guys just sit here and go, I'm learning from Thorne? Are you? I don't want you to learn from me. I want you to think because of what I'm saying. I would rather that you listen to me and go, you know what? I really thought about that, and I think Thorne's wrong. But in that process, you're learning. See, I'm not afraid to be wrong. What I don't like, it's not even a fear. What I don't like is to be disrespected in this process, because I'm sincere pretty much. You know, it might be white lies here and there, but I'm sincere through the whole process. I tell you what I've gone through. Yes, I'll dress it up with black curtains. Sure. That's not a lie. That's just to make it more interesting. But I tell you guys pretty much the whole truth. And if I don't tell you something, it's because it's personal to me. Anyway, I'm going on about me, but
you do have 3 super chats.
I do?
Yes, you
okay,
do.
I'll shut up. All right, thank you for jumping in. Save me from myself, darling. My darling.
All 3 of them are from Patchwork. Going back to the Necronomicon with this comment, $20 about the Necronomicon. If you study Kabbalah side by side with the Necronomicon, the book makes a lot of sense. I'm a little tongue-tied today. I apologize.
Slow down.
I've been studying Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and now my past experiences are making a lot more sense. May walk the gate.
Bingo. Well,
And
what did I tell you? Let me just comment on that. The Necronomicon is a work of astrotheurgy, which is connected to the Kabbalah, because if you understand what the Kabbalistic Sephirah is, they are each correlated or go by that Dion Fortune version of the Kabbalah, and you'll see that the planets are in there as the different Sephirah. Okay, and if you walk the gates of the Necronomicon, you are walking the Sephirah, and you're taking a path that is mixing astrology with Kabbalistic Sephirah. And this is one of the ways you can work Kabbalah, is to also use celestial alignments, celestial dedications, whatever. The different Sephirah relate to different planets. Clearly. I mean, isn't that obvious? I mean, they even say so. So yes, you're correct, Patchwork. It is absolutely, that's why I said the people who wrote the Necronomicon, they weren't ignorant of magic. They just dressed it up with Sumerian flavor. Instead of saying this planet is ruled by, this Sephirah is ruled by Mars, and that means every Martian deity is available to you through it, they will tell you this list of Sumerian gods is associated with this planet. The only issue I take with that is if you look at the Sumerian literature, the Sumerian history, and the Necronomicon, they actually don't align. There's a lot of either intentional mistakes, or in my opinion, they just didn't know better at the time, because the people who wrote the Necronomicon, Sumerian mythology was barely understood at the time. They didn't have all the tablets interpreted. They didn't have every story interpreted. So they had a lot of missing elements. And to be clear, the Sumerian culture is thousands of years long and is already thousands of years old by the time we get access to it, because we don't know. There might have been clay tablets that go back even further, but they were lost because they crumbled to dust. We don't know what happened to them. So it's not like we saw their very first writings. We saw an already developed writing system that was probably in existence for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And by the time we get access to this, they're talking about the gods in such deep antiquity. They describe the gods as being 20, 30,000 years old, like they're kings ruling the world. They had kings ruling 20 or 30,000 years at a time. So you're talking about something that supposedly echoes a time before the Younger Dryas by tens, 20s, hundreds of thousands of years. A lot's going to be lost in translation. And then by the time you get to So you have Sumeria, you have Acadia, then eventually you get to Babylon, which has many of the same deities, but now they've been warped so much by the telephone game. And then you get to Greek, and then you have Egyptian, which is like a distant cousin. Then you have Roman, you have Hindu, you even have Chinese and Japanese things that are slightly resonant with some of this stuff. We're talking about connecting to mythology. It is a cargo cult, almost through and through. But that doesn't mean that there aren't spiritual entities that will either step into those masks that you're creating because they're archetypal somehow, or made up by your own subconscious. Look, there's no end to the reasons why they could be a legitimate thing. This is one reason why I don't tell you to believe objectively in any deities. In fact, I reject that until I see hard proof. Subjective proof is one thing. You can say, I subjectively believe that I'm speaking to Ares, the god of war. You can absolutely do that, and that is your belief, and shame on me if I give you a hard time about that. Because I can't go into your head or into your experience and prove you wrong. If you're having an experience where you're hearing a voice and it sounds like a big, powerful warrior guy, and he's like, I am Ares, god of war, here is my passion, we must do this. Hey, maybe that's legit, or maybe that's part of your subconscious, or maybe the subconscious, there's only one subconscious, and it's all, like all of our subconscious is the same subconscious. Whatever your argument, all of them can be valid, depending upon how you're approaching it. So yes, you can do all this, but if you're seeking objective, if you want to prove deities objectively, demons, angels, you are going to have a hard time.
You know, I do have to say something about that too. Back when I first started on all this, like you would get little inklings, and I would have a little dreams here and there about various entities and everything. And it's like the further along I came, the more I kind of backed away from the entities themselves and just went more into the magic aspect of it all. Like using more myself than another entity to create these changes. I've had less and less dreams and feelings that it was these other beings.
And let's be clear, you can create. I mean, look at how like EA and I both recommend that you start working with spirits. You create for them an astral body in your mind. It's like you're creating an imaginary friend and filling it with the archetype that you're working with.
It's a starting point. It gets your feet wet.
Now, I'm here to tell you, if you do that right, eventually that little mental puppet will start acting on its own. It's just getting there is not easy for people because they expect it to be real externally to themselves. And most of the time, and let me be clear, I am not saying that there's nothing to an objective entity. I'm simply saying that by and large, 99% of the people listening to me will never have an objective experience of a spirit. And if you do, it's vague. It's not proof. It's a cup moved or the wall shook. Anything could do that. So for example, if I do a ritual and I'm calling upon Ares and I'm like, okay, Ares, I want to know you're here. Prove to me that you're here. And I hear a violent noise in the room. Maybe my sword falls over, right? I'll be like, oh my God, Ares is here. Dude, that could be Grandma Duke's knocking your sword over because she's mad you're doing rituals in her baby changing room that she used to use 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what that is. And anybody who gets all up, I know exactly what it is because I am a generational witch and blah, blah. It's an ego trip 99% of the time. But here's the thing. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying 99% of people that are telling you these things are full of shit. I have always been telling you from day one that my experience was subjective and that the things that I'm talking about are in some fashion I'm creating their form. I'm creating their appearance. Whatever is behind that may or may not be objectively real. I have always told you guys that. They feel real to me, but not always. There are times I can tell when it's just my imaginary friend. I can tell the difference. Usually there is some kind of, like, I'll get chills, there'll be some sort of paranormal activity in the environment, or my mind will not be able to predict at all what they're going to say, and I will have completely original ideas. Like they will feel like I would never have thought of that on my own. Or they will be, one of my personal favorites is they will be, how do I put this? They'll argue with me and prove me wrong. Now, is that just my Fight Club, Tyler Durden character? Maybe. Maybe I'm schizo. Possible, because that happens. Not schizo. Maybe I have multiple personalities, because if you deep dive that subject, sometimes your personalities don't talk to each other and sometimes they do. Both are possible. You can have multiple personalities and not know it, and like go to sleep and wake up and be like, why am I tired and wet? Like, what was I doing? What the hell happened? And you were actually out at the club dancing and then you collapsed and fell, but you didn't know because it's like sleepwalking to you. Or you can literally, your different identities can talk to each other.
You do have 3 more super chats.
All right, lay them on me, darling.
Okay. Yeehaw. The next one was also from Patchwork for $2. He went on to say, after the last one he sent, and yes, even the Necronomicon is full of traps.
Right, because they really want you to work for it. And they want you to actually have stumbles and falls, because that's how you learn. This is why I actually respect the Necronomicon. People who work with the Necronomicon, I respect because they do so knowingly. They know that what they're working with is a fiction usually. But they can tell that there's something real about it. And that alone is like, oh, okay, they got it. Don't forget, that was my first book of magic too. That was the only one I knew about for years. Like, I was like, I don't know what Golden Dawn is, don't care. Right? So I remember being like 13 or something with Slayer blasting on my headphones, walking through some cheap shit bookstore at the mall. It wasn't even like a good one. It was like a really cheap shit one that they would have. And I found the little paperback Necronomicon with like a little twisted looking pentagram. I'm like, that looks interesting. What is this about? And it's like, holy shit, is this legal? Is this even real? And I remember bringing it home and reading it and hiding it, because I knew, like, if people found out I was reading this fucker, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And yes, I started fiddling with it, because I'd read it and be like, oh, I don't know anything about this astrology stuff, but these spells sound cool, and I'd fuck with them. The thing that is really important here is that as I go forward, I'm leaving all of this behind. This stuff, I've lost interest in it because I can now see through 99% of it. And I'm not saying that to say that there's no truth there. It's just, it's been lost. Whatever valuable truth was in a lot of these things has been lost over time. It has been corrupted. It has been hidden. And I would rather talk about that and why that's happened and how that's happened than those instruments themselves, because most of them are garbage. You have exceptions, of course. Exceptions would include things like this. This is the book I keep telling you guys in Hermetica. Great foundational book to start with. Bada bing, bada bing. That Dion Fortune book of Kabbalah, great book to cut your teeth on, absolutely. But if you really want to know the truth, I think that you should start with a living mystical tradition, something that is secular in nature. By that I mean, it's not about dogmatic faith in deities and shit. And I would suggest you actually go find, this is why I recommend Indian metaphysics, because they're still alive. They are still practiced and they are kept pure. By that I mean, especially Advaita Vedanta, because Advaita Vedanta is not about any dogma at all. It is closer to Zen Buddhism or something, or the original Buddhism. It is not a story of a deity or any kind of bullshit like that. It is quite literally just the foundation of reality that you're figuring out. Once you have that, then you have an understanding of how, where, and why different things can be true, or why they can't be. And as it turns out in Advaita Vedanta, it's more about anything is possible than nothing is possible, or this is not possible, or that is not possible. This is why at some point, if you go down that path long enough, you stop having this "that's impossible" thought, when you encounter some weird story. You may be, that's unlikely because we know better, but you're not going to sit there and say that's impossible, because nothing is impossible. In the Vedic understanding, Brahman can manifest as anything unto itself, because it is the ultimate dreamer dreaming all dreams. It is dreaming itself. It is dream stuff. Brahman is dream stuff. It is consciousness. And I don't mean objectively or descriptively. I mean, the word consciousness points at Brahman. And Brahman itself is the ultimate enigma. It has no knowledgeable anything about it. But it's really easy to recognize. It's consciousness. It's that thing which is watching right now. There's no word for that. I want everybody listening to me, just close your eyes for a minute and really reflect on the fact that you are aware of things. That awareness is Brahman. That is Brahman. It is no physical shape. It is no person. That awareness is your, let me be clear. Brahman is not awareness. Awareness is the most clear finger that points at Brahman. So your awareness, that awareness, it's not even your awareness. You don't possess awareness. Awareness possesses this person. And maybe tonight I will actually correct monotheism for you guys. In fact, I think I might do that tonight. I want to go through with you guys and maybe correct what the monotheistic deity really is and why it is a corruption of the truth. We can do this tonight because it's really easy. But let me go. Got any more supers for me there, darling?
We have 3 more still.
Beautiful. Let it rip.
Okay, the next one is also from Patrick for $5. He says, a lot of the Sumerian gods and goddesses are deified magicians, and I found this out through personal gnosis with Inanna.
I agree with you. Yes. And so let's, yes, good. See, Patchy, that's why Patchy's an awesome, like, he knows what he's talking about a little bit. And not just a little bit, but he's of the many people who watch my show, Patchy works this path. He really does. You can tell, because when I first knew him, it was all questions. Now he's like, I get this, I get this, and he's usually pretty good on point. So very good comment. So that is absolutely correct. But here, let's take it a little bit further and insert the ancient aliens motif into this as well. Remember, they are the Anunnaki. They are the sky lords, the sky rulers, which is also basically what Elohim means, right? Elohim is plural. I know that a lot of Christians are like, it's a singular. Fuck them, ignore them. It means the Trinity. No, it doesn't mean the Trinity. They don't understand their own book because they've been lied to so long, and it's a dogma. You have to understand the Jewish culture came out of the Sumerian Babylonian culture. In fact, they were brothers, right? They were the same people. They were a tribe. They were, at some point, they were so, it's hard to say because anthropologically speaking, I am only an armchair knowledge of, but they're like cousins. They're so closely connected. They have the same culture that was their source. The Jews were always worshiping multiple different deities. My mom and I would talk about, yeah, they were always worshiping other gods. That's part of their problem, apparently, according to Christians. So in deep antiquity, before Abraham, the people that would become the Hebrews or the Jews as we know them were worshiping all the gods, just like everybody else. They were polytheistic. They were polytheistic Canaanites. And then eventually they just said, we're just going to take one. We're just going to take one. And we're going to make that the one. And it so happens that the theory is that the one they went with was a tribal chieftain of their tribe that they deified and made the Most High. That became their Most High personified deity. And then this becomes the personified God the Father, or I think Father, yeah, probably the Father, God the Father, which is the personification of the Holy Ghost, of the infinite, of consciousness. Okay. So this is where things get screwy, is that we are mixing history, mythology, and metaphysics, and it always gets into a dead end because it has been so corrupted, both just by the fact that it's so old and so we lose things, but also because there are powers in this world that don't want you to know the truth or have access to it. They want you to believe in the dogma just so that they can dispel it at when they need to. Why do you think religion has been relegated to a silly little pastime that doesn't really, it shapes our culture, but it doesn't shape anything else. It shapes how we talk to each other. It shapes what churches people go to, but it doesn't actually change anything. People do not actually think, let me put it to you like this. Do you really think the people that go to church on Sunday think God is going to answer all their prayers for them? No, they're scared. They've been told that that works. And so they profess a belief to it, but they don't really believe it. Oh, I do believe it. Some do. Okay, of course. But I'm saying a lot of people go because they have to, because it's a cultural trap. That's all it is for them. It's a cultural control mechanism. And when you remove that, it is apparent instantly. Okay. How many people left Christianity because they'd be like, I prayed and prayed and prayed, but my mom still died. Or I prayed and prayed and prayed, but this still happened. But the Bible says that anything is possible if I pray. So then people become obsessed with works-based religion. That is to say, they go to religions because they want to have a new car. And that inevitably leads them to magic. In almost every case, they are inevitably led towards eventually some form of magic because they're not there for spiritual enlightenment. They are there to pay the bills. And in my opinion, that is sad because that's not what this is about. You have to come from a mystical and metaphysical place first. Then you understand what your bills even are. Your bills are a fiction. They're a lie. They're a way to control you. So it's that simple. All right. What else do we got super chat wise?
You got a $5 from Slim Lewis.
Beautiful.
Proof comes from results. The mechanics are ultimately irrelevant. I don't get caught up in the mindfuck. The why it works doesn't matter to me.
There's some relevance to that, of course. I mean, if you're saying, is magic real? And then you do a ritual and something happens, that's proof for you. But here's the deal, is that people in this world have been conditioned that unless it's objectively provable, it's not real. And that's not true. Objective truth is still filtered through the subjective self. You can't know what something is objectively. You can only know it subjectively. And then there is apparently a consensus of subjective opinions. And that means that consensus means it's true. But that is not the case. Do you deny, even for a moment, that your experiences are unreal? No, your experiences are a real experience. Are they true and accurate to the truth that inspired them, though? That's the hard part. You can misinterpret your experiences. In fact, we all can. We can even sit in a room and have the wrong understanding of the same event. Just because 12 people agree doesn't mean it's correct. That is the, there's a name for that fallacy. Who's good at looking up logical fallacies? Somebody please look up, what is it, the consensus fallacy? I think it's the consensus fallacy.
I'll take a look for you.
So there is such a thing as a consensus fallacy. Everybody believes it, so therefore it's true. Well, that's not the case at all. Just because a billion people believe that XYZ deity is real doesn't mean it's real. Just because a billion people think the earth is flat doesn't suddenly make the earth become flat. It doesn't do that. Reality doesn't work that way.
Known as argumentum ad populum, his logical fallacy asserts that an argument must be true because many people believe it.
Correct. So society is based on that fallacy. I just reduce it to the consensus fallacy. Objective science, objective society is rooted in consensus fallacy. The only thing that makes it okay is that theoretically, science is supposed to use certain methods to sanity check that. So just because it is a consensus fallacy doesn't mean it's not true. That's fallacy, right? That is called the fallacy fallacy, which is just because you use a fallacy doesn't mean you're wrong. So it's not that simple. It's just that fallacies are inappropriate to base conclusions on. They don't really serve as anything more than a data point, and very often they are used as deceptive ways to argue for things because they sound true because of a misunderstanding of logic. But when logic is properly applied, these fallacies break down. This is why a truly logical person can break down modern society's materialism problem, because it does not stand up to scrutiny. It is unfortunately untenable, and these people are deceiving you. They are more deceptive, in my opinion, than those weirdos selling rituals on eBay and shit that don't really do them. They take a picture of their altar once and use the same picture. That in a lot of ways, those people are tame because they're just extracting a little money from you. They're just a little ding, a little annoyance. No, this whole system is a matrix of lies that you're living in. The absolute truth of reality cannot be diagrammatized. What's the word? You can't make a diagram of the absolute truth. You can only make a path or finger pointing at the absolute truth that you can use to find that truth for yourself, but you can never rationalize it as a diagram. You can't rationalize it as a dialogue. Dialogue and diagram are only useful for pointing at it. This is why I like Advaita Vedanta again as your fundamental metaphysics. You don't have to stop there. That's a misconception. When I say start with Advaita, I'm not saying that's all you do. I'm saying start there, and once you get it, then you can start adding these other things in. You can add idealism in and then dualism, because you have to understand, because reality is a fundamental monism, an enigma that cannot be defined, but there are natures which we can point at and say those are its nature. The nature of reality is, one, it exists. Undeniable. We're here. We exist. But of course, existence is a concept without meaning. If you really think about it, by itself, existence is meaningless. You must have consciousness of some sort, awareness, because without awareness, you don't even know if something exists. So how can you prove it one way or the other? So reality, Brahman, is existence, consciousness, or awareness. Either word is fine. I like consciousness because it implies there's more to it than just some feminine reception, okay? So I like to use the word consciousness, and most mystics do. You have existence, consciousness, and then there's a third thing which traditions have a hard time translating into English because there's no good English word for it. In Advaita, it's Sat Chit Anand. And the word Anand is or Ananda is often described as bliss. But the problem with describing it as bliss is that you confuse bliss for a feeling. Anand is not a feeling. Anand is experience. It is totality. It is there's no word that's easily going to tell you what it means, honestly, because we don't really have a word that encapsulates what Anand means in English. But I would say it's at the nexus of the ability or experience itself, experiencing, like the experiences, but not by itself, because experiences by themselves are deceiving. It's experiences, it is fulfillment, it is limitlessness, it is endlessness, it is, and so that last word is tough. That's why we kind of get into trouble here. And a lot of Western traditions will just stop at existence is, Brahman is existence and consciousness, and in fact, most Neo-Advaitin traditions, Western traditions, just say it's consciousness and are done with it. They ignore that Trinity language because there's not an easy way to bring you there. But they're kind of right, because Brahman or the monad or the one or God or the divine, it is the penultimate, actually it's beyond that. It is the ultimate enigma. In fact, it is the very definition of enigma. It is enigma. It is the enigma from which all enigmas are patterned. When you have a paradoxical enigma in your mind, that is only possible because the divine is exactly that. It is beyond that. It is so enigmatic. It takes enigma and it's like, haha, peasant. And it's beyond an enigma. Unto itself, it is beyond an enigma. It doesn't know itself that way because it is not mentally containable. You can't contain it in a box. And since you can't contain it in a box, since the box is within it, you cannot define it by the boxes of ideas that we use. There is no word for it. So it's the ultimate enigma. It is the very source enigma from which all else emerges. Why is this so fucking important? Because if you don't understand this, you're living in a materialistic delusion in which magic has to work according to materialistic laws. When you understand that the fundamental fabric of reality is not even a fabric, it's not even emptiness, it is an enigma without any definable anything, you realize that that means it can be anything. It can look like anything. It can manifest any way it wants. And it's not even about what. In fact, it manifests not just in one way, it manifests always eventually. Because there is no time, so it manifests always. Completely. It is a block time multiverse from our perspective. If you are a pantheist or a one of those people like a naturalist, like a natural pantheist, you think that the world or the universe is God. Well, I got news for you. Try a multiverse. In fact, let's go beyond that. It's all multiverses because there's probably multiple multiverses because the implication is there's no end to it and there's no beginning. So whatever the divine is the multiverse. And what is the multiverse? It's not the multiverse because the multiverse is just its image. It's its reflection, reflecting back at itself. It is that which is both the source, substance, and witness. Those are the three: source, substance, witness. That's in English, that's a much better selection of words. We can grasp that. Maiden, Mother, Crone. Salt, Sulfur, Mercury. God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Ein Sof, These are all words that in their own way refer to the same basic fundamental idea. Right? So as we try to do this, this is why I never stop harping on these old tired ass things, because how many of you guys, honestly, maybe I shouldn't ask you guys, how many people do you think listen to my streams and go, yeah, that's really deep, and then go back to doing everything in a mechanistic, materialistic kind of way? They never, let me ask you guys, do you ever sit there and really think about what you're experiencing? Like really do that? Like when you're not listening to me later, like you're sitting taking a shit or something, I don't care, when you're by yourself, I want you to really think about what you're experiencing. The problem is we don't have words for this, so I have to use all these metaphors, but let's take an object, soda can. Here we go again. Is this a soda can? No, it is not. It is a piece of consciousness that looks like a soda can. There's no soda can here. This is an abstract painting. Let's use the analogy of an abstract piece of art. This is an abstract image, which you have become so accustomed to and have been taught that this shape means this and that shape means that, that you've begun to reify those things as if they are real, but they're not. Your experience of reality is seamless. This is no different from this, because they're both part of that same experiential hologram. They are both the same thing because they're not even a thing. They transcend thingness. The difference between this soda can and this hand is inconsequential. It's just apparent. There is no difference fundamentally. They are the same fundamental existence, taking on different forms. That's correct. Whoever said it's not a soda can, exactly. That's the Buddhist way of putting it. If someone were to approach you and say, what's this? As a test, as a Buddhist, you're going to say, well, it's not a soda can. But here's the thing that's too on the nose. And so you'd probably get rejected, ironically enough, because you could parrot that very easily. That doesn't mean you understand it. How many of you guys don't get what I'm saying? Remember, I started this off by saying you've been taught to parrot, not to actually understand. You've been taught to parrot 2 + 2 = 4. How many of you intuitively understand why 2 + 2 = 4? How many of you guys can take that same discernment and apply it to other things besides 2 + 2? Do you know why addition works? Or subtraction? Do you even know what it is fundamentally? And this is where we get into trouble, because you and I and everybody else have been conditioned since birth to think in this way. But that's not reality. That is not even a good model of reality. It is actually one of the worst models of reality you can have, is to parrot it. To parrot what you've been told is one of the worst ways to understand reality. And I mean, even what reality manifests as. You have to understand there is existence which appears to itself as this. You do not have a face. You have never seen your face. Yes, I have. I've looked in the mirror. You've seen a reflection. You've never seen your face. No one has. You don't have a face. Well, Thorne, I could rip my eye out and turn it around and look. Is that your face, though? Are you sure? Or is that what something looks like that you call a face? You don't have a face. You don't have a brain. You have something that looks like what we call a brain. There is no objective brain that has objective reality. That's just what it looks like. And as you follow this type of thinking all the way down, all the way to its root understanding, you then easily see where you've been led wrong. Because you've been taught to objectify and reify those objective objects. And this is why things like magic are irrational to most people, because they don't see how this can be malleable. Now, the irony is you can see how it could be malleable and still not be able to do it. Do you know why? Because you've been conditioned into this karmic pattern of activity, this karmic path. And it's not that you've been conditioned. Let me correct myself. You've never been conditioned to do this. You have chosen this. You are shaping this reality every moment of your life. No one else is doing that for you. You. I don't mean D.H. Thorne. I mean God. Let's do the super chats, and let's actually deconstruct monotheism and make it make sense. Let's do that in a second. So go ahead, my beautiful assistant wifey do.
Okay, the next one is from Gar for 10 Canadian dollars. All the best realities are fiction, or is it in reverse?
I'm not sure I understand the question, actually. All the best realities are fiction, or is that in reverse? There are no realities. There is just the way reality appears. There isn't. So these things that you think of reality, like planets and space and Marvel Cinematic Universe, these aren't realities. They are manifestations of what is real. They are appearances of what is real. They are sculptures in clay, and that clay can be anything. There is nothing that clay can't be. That clay can be a universe, or it could be a duck by itself in emptiness with nothing around it. It can be that too. In fact, try to imagine a duck with nothing around it. I don't mean empty space. I mean just a duck. Can you imagine a duck existing by itself with no empty space around it, or planets, or anything to compare it to? What is a duck without a not duck? Well, the duck becomes the universe, and then you don't recognize the duck anymore. You only recognize its bones, because those are objects within it. The duck ceases to be an object. It becomes an infinity, the equivalent of infinity, an infinite duck. Remember that thing I say to you guys about the infinite golden cube, the golden cube of infinite size, the solid golden cube of infinite size? Is it a solid gold cube anymore? No, because it's all that exists. So it can't have an edge. It can't have any faces. It can't have any corners. It can have no dimensions. It's all there is. Is it gold anymore? No, because the only thing that exists is gold. Without something that's not gold to compare it to, it stops being gold. If you say it's solid, well, if there's no emptiness within it, how can you say it's solid? You have nothing to compare to. There's nothing that's not solid. So solidness loses meaning. Every single word can be refuted easily. It is a completely paradoxical, non-existent, yet existent object. It's not an object. It is complete paradox. It can't be, yet it can. What is it? That's your universe. Your universe is like a solid cube of gold.
The universe, that's why the universe looks like empty space filled with shit. Because that empty space, this is where it gets really heavy. It's not space, it's not quantum fields, it's not even the aether. Space isn't even space. You just see it as space. Whatever it is, you can't know what it is. Because it's ultimately nothing. Because it's all there is. This is where it gets like brain broken, because you can't do it that way. You can't get enlightenment by thinking about it. Enlightenment comes from working, like, think of enlightenment almost like having a garment that is dirty, but you don't know that it's stained to the core, and you want a clean, pure garment. So you're a primitive person, and how are you going to do this? You're going to go take this garment, and you want a clean, pure garment. You want to get to the truth. What is the truth of this garment, right? So you're going to take it to your rock, like you're really primitive. You got a rock, and you're going to beat it on the rock and get the stain out, and you're going to grind it, and you're going to put lye in it, and you're going to do whatever you got to do. Soponification. And the stains are going to wash away, but there's always going to be a little stain left. You're like, I don't see the garment. I still see the stain. And you're going to keep, I just want the garment. I just want, it's fundamental what this garment is. And you're going to keep rubbing it till eventually the garment disappears. The garment itself wears away. When the garment itself wears away, you realize the garment never existed as the garment. The garment was an idea in your mind. You couldn't purify it because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in this objective way. You were trying to purify something that wasn't there. And this is why you can do this. This is what meditation is, by the way. This is called apophatism in a Greek, or negation. You are removing everything that is not the fundamental truth until all that remains is the fundamental truth. And I got news for you. It's nothing in your sense of understanding. It just is. And that hurts people because they have been convinced their whole lives that something is what is real and nothing is not. All right, let's continue. So that's all I can say, Gar. I might not understand your question very well, so I apologize if that's the case. All right, let it rip, my darling.
Okay, your next super chat is from Patchwork. He says, for $2, confirmation biases.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's true. Yeah, we were talking about, what was it? I know what he's referring to. I remember what I was saying at the time. I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I believe it was about, wasn't it about performing rituals and
Could be.
I'm blanking.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
It's a long day.
He meant that for everybody else to see, I think.
What was that?
I think he meant that for other people to see, to be honest.
Yes.
Scody says 2 + 2 = Slayer.
Love it. Another $2 from Patchwork. Empty space is chaos.
Correct. And what is the meaning original of chaos? Does anybody know? Do you guys know? Let's actually correct it. It's not chaos. It's K-O. K-H-A. Wait, I have to look it up. It's K-O. It's not chaos. That's our English version of it. It's K-O. Primordial K-O. What is it? Think about it. What is this? K-O. Kill. Ho. How. It's gap. It's emptiness. It is void. It is no thing. And what we consider the material reality emerges out of it. Why? Because it is no thing, and in no thing is everything. People don't understand that embedded within every religious mythology and whatnot is almost always a finger pointing at the same thing Advaita is pointing at, the same thing that Zen is pointing at, right? It's just done through metaphor and mythology, which is exactly what Christianity has done and Abrahamism has done. And unfortunately, people have confused the map for the territory. All Orthodox religion that's dogmatic confuses the map of consciousness for the territory of consciousness. It would be like saying that reality is a bunch of sephirah. This is why I shit on certain Kabbalists, because they'll go, well, reality is actually a bunch of emanating sephira and it's a bunch of celestial spheres. Like, that's cool. That's fine as a cosmological model, but that's all it is. It's a map of consciousness. It is not consciousness itself. The moment you confuse the map for the territory, you're lost in oblivion. You're never going to get it. If you think the sephira are objective objects, you're wrong. They are planes of awareness, of conceptual. It's not even conceptual. It's worse than that. It's archetypal. It's worse than archetypal. It's like Platonic ideals of existence itself through the lens of human experience as a way to. So why do you think you got to go through these different pathways? And there's like a really good one like that everybody takes, the zigzag back to the source. The reason that it's like that is because you travel through these different things. No, Stu, it's just I'm getting too many I'm getting too many supers, brother. Listen, Stu, you got to understand, I always prioritize paid questions first. Like, I can't not do that. They're paying for a reason. I got to go with them first. But I will get to other ones if I can. So let's just see. I always have started a lot of these chats off by saying, I will do my best to get to everybody's questions, but if you want me to prioritize them, super chat goes to the top. Bold and or adding me or my guest that like Camilla, you could add her for this. If you at one of us, but I prefer you if you really want me to respond to you, super chat or all caps, please. Because first of all, I'm sitting like 3 or 4 feet from the screen. So I have to like, what are they saying? And also I don't notice that it's addressing me. So
also,
please,
if you want to have my name in there, it is under Shrieking Violet.
Oh, that's right. Shrieking
Not
Violet.
under Camilla.
I know, Stu, but I'm also understand too, like if I take you literally, it's also because I'm assuming there's people that might not know that I know you and that I know what you mean. So it is a fair question, to be clear. If you were a newbie to this channel, Stu, I would have answered you the same way. So, all right. So I think we're caught up on the supers. Let's hold off on supers for a little bit. Stu's got a point though, even though I just shot him full of holes. Let's see. Let's see if there's any juicy ones. All right, Christian put, DH Thorn, I'm always pondering the deep shit. I come to you because you confirm my biases. Yay! That's what we do here. We confirm those biases. Fuck, I hate doing that. I like to challenge your biases if I can. No, I'm kidding. Look, I figure that I am an example. What I say is not what is real. It's just, this is an example of what real can look like. Does that make sense? Malachi Odinson says, what's your opinion on the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn? Personally, they remind me of Christians and I don't trust them. If I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater, but let me explain my answer for a second. This is going to be hard to do because honestly, my brain's not aligned anymore. Like, I think we got so delayed, I got frustrated and I got knocked out of my thought processes before. Like, I had all these things I wanted to talk about. Now they're gone. Here's my problem. Western occultism is a combination of cargo cult bullshit, intentional deception and corruption of truth. They have created. Let me start from the beginning. Let me just center myself for a moment. Just pardon me if you don't mind. Let me try to put this in a step-by-step logical frame. It is my understanding that in deep antiquity, humanity was an ascended being. And humanity, the physical, was seated on this world somehow. I don't know if it was seeded because alien spaceships came and dropped sperm into the water, or if it was just life that was seeded here. I don't know the answer to that. That we can't tell that yet. But humanity, whatever we are, these avatars, these bodies, in Maya, remember, we're not talking objective truth, we're talking Maya truth. In the objective world of Maya, I should say we are talking objective truth, but that's not reality, that's Maya. In the phenomenal world of Maya, humanity either arose, was seeded, or was otherwise intervened with and ascended or uplifted. My gnosis is that humans are not really from this planet. In other words, we are primates. We are deeply related to the other primates of this world. We have much in common. Our genetic structure is taken from them. But this form is not originally from here, or is not exclusively from here. We are an admixture of different species that are on this planet, and there's been some evidence of some tinkering. The tinkering right now looks degenerative, not creative. This is important. And scientists would be like, he's full of shit, but they've been taught to say that, right? They have evidence for why, but the powers that be know better. They know why what I'm saying is probably in the direction of truth more than the anthropologists are. Because the anthropologists are only dealing with what they're allowed to know. So, in deep antiquity, humanity was either seeded or guided by higher beings to evolve. I don't care what you're, think of like 2010 or 2001 with the monolith appearing. By the way, I know the story is that monolith is supposed to be the movie screen. Like that was what was said, you know, but the reality is that monolith is just a rectangular deformity of the black cube. Okay. Most of these ancient traditions worshipped, especially the bad guys, will say, had a thing for Saturn or Kronos or the entity associated with that. It is time, it is cycle, it is mortality. So Saturn, one could argue, is the god of the material world. Saturn is the most high god of material. It is the demiurge. It is Yaldabaoth, if you will. It is the true Satan, if there was such a thing. But it doesn't mean it's evil, because you have to understand that Saturnian concept, archetype, is in balance, or is supposed to be in balance. When it is in balance, it's fine. You have the cycles of harvest and growth and rebirth, and it's a beautiful pattern that it repeats. Yes, it's got pain and suffering, but so does it have joy and pleasure. It is a beautiful wonderland that we can experience. Think of it like, you know, you're creating an imaginary friend, and that imaginary friend needs a world to live in, and so you give it an adventure to go on. It's going to have ups and downs. It's going to be a roller coaster. So Saturn in balance is beautiful harmonies and cycles. Kronos in balance is beautiful harmonies and things, right? It's beautiful harmonies and balance. But you can corrupt that idea and fixate on the fact that it devours its children. Anything that is created within the chronological world, in other words, anything that exists in time is not real, and it is temporal and will be eventually devoured by time. Time devours everything. Kronos is time. Time is the definition of materiality. Did you not know that? It's not defined by space. It's defined by time, because without time, materiality could not appear. You need moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. Otherwise, you don't have experience. There has to be something changing. So the material realm is limited to time. And not just time, a linear time. Because nonlinear time is higher still. That's actually higher than Kronos. Kronos is linear cyclic time. And it could be a spiral cycle like this, or it could be a complete cycle. I don't believe in circular. I believe it's what's the word? Toroidal? A toroidal spiral? That's time. So Kronos, in many ways, is the demiurge. In fact, if you do the deep dives, Saturn, Kronos, is always the final deity, the final boss before you become immortal. right? You do your Necronomicon. What's the, well, it might not be that because I think Necronomicon includes the other planets, but traditionally in 7-planet theurgy, Saturn is the last guy to fight. It's the final boss. So Saturn is the most badass deity. And what makes Zeus or Jupiter so powerful? Because Zeus learned to conquer time. You see, time devoured his brothers, but Zeus was spared. Rhea spared him. She hid him. And then he slayed his father and got him to vomit out his devoured children. They conquered him and they sent him to Tartarus. Or was it Erebus? I forgot. I think it's Tartarus. He's like a dead god, but he's not really dead. Gods don't die. They can be dispersed or forgotten. And I'm not even sure Kronos was dispersed or forgotten. I think he was. I think they cut, yeah, it was his genitals. They cut his genitals off, threw them in the ocean. That's how you got Aphrodite. There's meaning in that, by the way. It's not just, oh, that's an interesting myth. No, there's meaning to that. The genitals of Kronos, what is Kronos? It is the Lord of Time, the Time Lord, the original Time Lord. Get it? The Time Lords? Hemorrhoidal spiral. That's fucked up. Give that man a +1. Give that man a pussy. Anyway. God, that's good. Hemorrhoidal spiral. Fuck you, man. I love you, Christian. That's fucking dope, dude. Hemorrhoidal spiral. Give yourself a bow, dude. You made me laugh for real. All right. Because I'm picturing it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Picturing like my necklace on somebody's asshole. All right, I'm going to tone it down because I'm doing that rant, that arrogant rant thing. So Kronos is. So what would be the genitals of Kronos? Is it the cock and balls? That's the symbol, but is it the cock and balls? What is Aphrodite? What does Aphrodite symbolize? What does she stand for? Her planet is Venus. What does she stand for? Think about it. Anybody? Please, somebody answer me in the chat. Please, I don't want to be the one. I feel like I'm teaching a course here. Somebody's got to know. Google it. Camilla, Google it. Somebody Google it.
Isn't it fertility and love?
Well, no. Zeus is actually fertility more. She is a part of fertility, yes. She plays a role in fertility, yes. Time Lord says, gaze upon my eternal genitals. Oh God, we're crazy. We are crazy. Let me make sure I'm being specifically correct. Aphrodite specific symbolism. You have to understand, Aphrodite can't just be simplified to one thing. None of these deities can.
No.
But if we're gonna do that, so let's examine what she is. Okay.
Patchwork says victory.
Hold on.
F. Kitty responds with love and beauty.
Okay, love and beauty, yes.
Which I said love before. I guess you didn't hear me.
Did you? I heard fertility.
I said fertility and love.
Oh, okay. So, of course, this is oversimplified in astrology, but you can use astrology to help you. So Venus is the planet of love, but here's the problem. We misunderstand love as a feeling. Love is not a feeling. What are the genitals represent? Does anybody know? They represent not the seed. They represent the inoculative force, the yang force. Okay. So Kronos's genitals. Now, let me be careful here. Let me just make sure I get my mythology right, because it might be confusing. Kronos genitals. Boy, this is fun.
Just for the record, Hardcore Zombie says the feminine, and Malachi Odinson comes in with the female ejaculation.
Okay. Sure, you can put that in there if you want to make it about sex. That's fine. I think that's unfortunately a corruption. Not that it's wrong, but I think it's like Don't look at this, look at that. Like, ooh, you like female ejaculation, right? Let's not make it about a deep metaphysical idea. Let's make it about pussy.
And Patrick mentions passion.
There we go. Alpha Draconian, thank you. It's about divine union.
Divine union.
The Kronos's genitals falling into the sea. The sea is the divine feminine. Kronos was the divine masculine. Time, the sea, falls in. What do you get? You get love. You get attraction. You get the ultimate lure, the ultimate mirror, the ultimate, you know, this is what you want. This is, it's okay, Malachi. He says, it was a joke, bro. I'm very literal tonight. My autism is showing. Give me a break. It's just my autism, guys. I'm not a dick. I swear. Don't hate me. He's like, it was just a joke, bro. Damn. I'm teasing. I'm trolling you, bro. It's okay. We're trolling each other. It's good. Yeah. So Aphrodite emerges. She is the ultimate representation of why you're here. She represents the object of desire. She represents your drive, your passions. So Ares is passion. You notice Ares pursues Aphrodite? Ares is action. It is the masculine in motion. It is the assertive. It is the yang force in motion to get. To get what? The object of its desire. What does it desire? Aphrodite is desire. And I don't mean desire like just lust. I mean love, desire, like true love. I love that. It is what I am doing. I am here for love. I'm here because I love. You love this or you wouldn't be here. This is why so many mystical traditions go so, you know, what's the word? I think it starts with an A. I can't think of it. Like when they don't like pretty things, they don't do things that are fun. What's the word for that? I can't think of it.
I know what you're talking about and I can't place it.
You know, like Buddhist monks sitting in a very, very humble surroundings, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of the word for it all of a sudden. My brain's not, I think it's the hat's too tight. Shit. Ascetic. They're very ascetic, right? So many mystical traditions take you into asceticism because it's like they want you to deny your worldly desires. So Aphrodite represents worldly desires. Why do you think she's always associated with sin? Why do you think Lucifer in the Christian tradition is associated with Venus the most? Because it represents mortal desire. So Kronos traps you. His balls fall off, go into the sea. Out comes Aphrodite. That's like, I can't leave. I want to hit that motherfucker. That's what you're supposed to be thinking. Think as a pervert if you have to make it make sense. If you're a guy, especially if you're a guy, I guess. I think girls have this problem too, but especially if you're a guy, right? Imagine this. Imagine there's a war. Your city's on fire. There's troops marching down the streets, massacring people. And some hottie like my wife is there. Save me, Obi-Wan. I guarantee you that aside from the stoic, psychopathic motherfuckers like me, the average guy is going to hesitate to run past the bitch and is going to be like, well, let me try to save her. Joke's on you guys. That was an enemy soldier's, that was a whore the enemy soldier used to trick you and now you're dead. That's what Kronos, that's what the demiurge does. That's what this Saturnian thing represents, this archetype represents. Saturn is the cycles of time, which is a trap of mortality, and he gets you here to stay with the Aphrodite desire. But here's the beauty of Aphrodite, she's a mirror. If you really understand desire, it's a mirror of what? What is it a mirror of? All of your desires are a reaction to what you do not think you own. It's a reaction to the state of what is. Desire is a mirror. Hello. I'm gonna do my what's his name? Infinite Waters. Slow motion this side. Right? That's Aphrodite is a mirror. Her symbol is a mirror. Why? Because it's a reflection of you. And you can get even deeper in that and say we always are drawn towards what we are. Like attracts like. It's a mirror coming together until it is one. That's one interpretation. And of course, you have the star, the apple, all these different, there's all symbols. They all mean different things. Aphrodite is not just one thing, but that is one of the main things. You're not going to hear this from some theistic, Greco-Roman, Hellenistic, pagan. No offense to them. They have some beautiful shit. I love it. I love some of that. I want to take part in some of that. It's glorious. Some of those traditions are like, oh, that's so beautiful. And half the time, maybe some of these guys know it. I should be clear. Maybe some of them know this stuff. And maybe I'm objectively wrong, but that's the interpretation I grew up understanding. So Zeus defeats Kronos. What does that mean? Does anybody understand the significance of that? So Rhea steals her son away and hides him. This is a metaphor. Do our parents, do our creators not try to preserve us as long as possible? But eventually we must confront our doom. How do we defeat Kronos? How does Zeus beat Kronos? By physically living, not me. What did Kronos devour thinking it was Zeus? What did Rhea feed Kronos? That's why I hate Google, because it's like, you look this up and you're going to get like Kronos, the app on your phone. It's so freaking retarded. And you have the Titanomancy, and you have that cool-ass story about the wars and stuff. And I want to be clear. There's probably people who know this better than me and be like, hey, you're totally wrong. Okay, that's fine. This is my interpretation. Eat it. So here we go. Once he had grown up, whoops, here it is. Once he had grown up, Zeus used an emetic. So an emetic is, it makes you throw up, okay? So once he had grown up, Zeus used a barf chemical given to him by Gaia to force Kronos to disgorge the contents of his stomach in reverse order. That was when he was overthrown. But let's go back a little further. Rhea, because the stone's mentioned in here. First, the stone, which was set down. So that's supposed to be almost like the stone was supposed to be. Rhea, instead of giving Zeus to him, gave him a stone. What's the stone? Well, the stone is the Omphalos stone, a religious stone artifact, which means navel. What does that mean? Right? Let's not go too deep in that. Let's just take the symbol. The stone is the material. You surrender the material body because that's not what you are. You're not the stone. Right? Think about it. You're not the stone. Kronos eats the stone. He eats the physical, but you're not that. You're Zeus. Zeus is not a stone. Zeus is not a body. So Zeus transcends mortality by surrendering the physical. Doesn't that sound a lot like what Zen monks and people like me are teaching you? You're not this. Be willing to let this go when the times come because it's not what you are. This is just something you're watching right now. Let go of your attachments. The stone is an attachment, a millstone. Let go or be dragged. The stone is not you. So you surrender the stone. You give the stone. You give the false self to time, to mortality, and it's gone. And then you realize that you remain and you cannot die. So then what does Zeus do? He goes and he gives the agent to Kronos. So they disgorge his family. In a very similar way, you could argue, and this is probably wrong, I'm probably getting this part wrong. You could argue that that means that Zeus enlightens his friends and family. He gives them the secret of immortality. You're not the body. Surrender it. You don't need it. Oh, and by the way, a new physicality will return, by the way. A new physicality will return. That's reincarnation. Are you guys getting the metaphors now? You seeing how this starts to fit together? Now I'm not going to go through the whole mythology because I don't know it that well, but that's one of the ways to interpret it, because how do I know this? It's found in other myths, but it's also found just in metaphysics. And we know what these things symbolize. Zeus refers to fertility. Zeus is the most fertile. He's the god of fertility, abundance, whereas Kronos is the god of having, right? Kronos is I have everything, meaning it's everything. Kronos has everything. Everything, soda can, is Kronos. All physical, all illusion, all materiality, phenomenality, the phenomenal world is Kronos. Zeus is the fertility that keeps it going. Keeps the cycle going. Without Zeus, the cycle of Kronos would cease. So Zeus takes his place. So Zeus, in a sense, represents eternal life in that way. Why would you go to Hades? Why would you go to Elysium? Why would you go? Because you think that you're the body, and when that's gone, you're like, fuck. You can't take it, so you want to exist in a reality that's just like the one you were in. So you go to Hades if you're suffering, you go to Tartarus, you go to, Asphodel, you go these different layers of experience. It's part of the cycle of reincarnation. You keep going through this. Again, you return to the earth and and yet you have motherfuckers who treat this as literal. It's just like Christianity. It's no different. So here's the deal. Eons ago, humanity figured all this shit out. Or they were taught by some higher being. I like to think we figured it out, but I might be wrong. Then at some point, we pick up some kind of a parasite, either interdimensional, interplanetary, interstellar, or we just go crazy. And humanity creates a servant class, a slave race. Or the gods create a slave race. Or the aliens, like we pick up aliens come. However it happens, humanity becomes corrupted. Every single tradition on the planet that is more than just the most superstitious, folksy thing, any of the higher mythologies, the root mythologies, all tell us that humanity was created / seeded on this planet, improved in some way, somehow, and then somehow, usually because we did something that offended somebody, we are corrupted and fallen and reduced and made mortal. Every single one has some version of this pattern. It may say it differently, it may symbolize it differently, but it's the same everywhere. There is this bell curve, this crescendo of humanity starts, we get great, and then... And sometimes this goes like this a little bit. So in deep antiquity, human beings figured this out, or we were taught it, or however it happened. Then we picked up a parasite, or we made an enemy, or we did something wrong. I don't know what. That's objectively, I don't know. Something comes along and knocks the wind out of our sails. Maybe we were not interstellar yet, but we were interplanetary. Let's think about that. Let's go to the Indian texts about the Vimanas. Humanity, apparently, the gods, early humanity, had the ability to fly. in these big machines that look like castles flying. And we went to other worlds in these things. The gods were going between worlds with them. What if Atlantean Lemurian culture was an interplanetary but not interstellar civilization? Something like that, just as a theory. I don't know if this is true. This is just my speculation. And somehow we fucked up. Maybe we pissed off the Galactic Federation. I don't know. Something happened. We fucked up. Or something fucked us up. I don't know what happened. Something like that happened. I like the idea that there was a cometary fragment that hit the Earth during the Younger Trias era, and it came at us from the toroidal, the Taurid meteor shower, which is part of an ancient comet called Enki. It's fucking recycling of these words. It's crazy. It's E-N-K-E, not E-N-K-I. So I guess it's just Enk. I don't know. In fact, that's where you get Halloween from, according to Randall Carlson. And I agree, that's very likely. Because it's deep in our racial memory to remember once upon a time, there was this great star in the sky that looked like a witch on a broom. Came along and killed everybody. It's All Souls Day because everybody fucking died. It's the racial memory of the end of our civilization. Halloween is the racial memory, the Day of the Dead. It's the remembrance of the day that our world died.
That was fascinating to hear that perspective.
Right? So something comes and knocks us back to the Stone Age. Now, were we corrupted before that or after? I don't know. I'm just giving you some of the data points and you can figure out the chronology because I don't know. There is also the theory that I agree with that our DNA was spliced. Like we had another chromosome, somebody snipped it, snipped something else and glued it back in, and that's why we're weird.
I'm convinced of that too.
So we're like a little degenerate from what we used to be. We're like domesticated dogs versus wolves. We're the equivalent of domesticated dogs versus wild wolves. If you know anything about that, wild wolves are more intelligent. They are physically usually much, especially if they have a decent life, they are much stronger, faster. Usually there are breeds of dogs that will kill a wolf, by the way. But that's not how it usually was. They had to develop that breed. I forget what it's called, but it's like a wolf hunting dog. And they will one-on-one tear a wolf apart. They are like ridiculous. They're just like, wolf, ha ha, right? But they had to be bred to do that. And they're dumb as a brick. You know what I mean? They're just going to eat the wolf. They're just like a bear dog. Because bears and dogs are related, by the way. So the wolf is in almost all respects a superior specimen to a dog. A wolf in an optimal environment, I believe, lives longer than a dog. I could look this up. I might be wrong, but I believe they live. Let's look it up. Let's do the Google. Who wants to Google it with me? How long do wolves live?
Real quick, before another tangent, we did have another super chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little while ago. But you were on a roll and I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, let me just finish this point. So I just Googled it. The average wolf lifespan of a male in captivity is 16 years. Do you know how unusual that is for a full-size canine to live 16 years? Usually a big dog makes it 9, maybe 10. You can say that, Hardcore Zombie. I don't know. I think Terrence McKenna is onto something there, but that could be wrong too, by the way. I like that theory, but I don't want to just say that's it. Let's not say it objectively, Hardcore Zombie, because that's a theory. And it is borne out by some evidence, but let's not say that's what did it. Even if the mushrooms told you that, let's just be objective. Because I do know what you're saying. In fact, my little trip on mushrooms, there's something weird that happens if you're tripping on mushrooms, and especially if you don't have to go all the way into the hyperspace realm. Just tripping on mushrooms enough, you can't help but connecting to like heathen gods and shit, or invoking them even. Mushrooms are a great way to invoke heathen gods, like especially Odin and Freya and all they come like unbidden. They just hi, and they're not personified. They're a presence in you. Let me be clear. When I did that, Odin was real to me for a little, like dead ass real. Like, holy shit, maybe I am Odin. I couldn't tell the difference between me and Odin. I felt like Odin walking around my backyard with a staff. Now, I'm not saying I am Odin, because T.H. Thorne is not Odin. But Odin was me for a little bit. Or I was Odin for a little bit. I can't tell the difference. I'm walking around my backyard like, look at this beautiful flower. Oh, and I felt like Odin woke up in the middle of this modern world going, what the fuck is this? Oh shit, we got a lot of work to do. A lot of shit's fucked up. It's like the mushrooms are trying to find, let's put it this way. Let's pretend the old gods are the mushrooms, right? Let's just give you your theory. Like, let's say it's true, right? It's like the soul or consciousness of or the mind of the mushrooms is looking for conduits in people that can actually be conduits for them. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that's, I could see why people would think that. It could be true. At least it can feel that way. That's all I can say, because objectively, I don't know. But I've only done it once to that degree. Maybe if I do it all the time, I'll suddenly have a relationship with all the old gods and be like, holy shit, this is all real. All right, hit me with that super before I get back on my tangent.
Okay. Well, you have a super, and I was tagged in another comment, so I'm going to read the super chat first. For $5 patchwork, Saturn is the first plane of manifestation, both mother, death, and father time.
Yep. I like that. And because Saturn's usually personified as a masculine, so we don't usually associate with mother, death. We actually create like Thanos, right? Or Thanatos, Thanatos. As, sorry, Marvel Universe fucked my brain up. I'll never see it the right way again. So Thanatos, is the personification of death itself. Peaceful death, specifically, by the way. It's not death in war. It's literally just happenstance death, like you got sick and died, or usually it's peaceful death. Like, surprise, you're dead. Like, it's not because you did something wrong. But Thanatos is like this with Saturn in a lot of ways, right? Thanatos is it's a chthonic, or I can never say it right, chthonic entity. It's an underworld entity. Where's Saturn, by the way? Well, he ain't on Mount Olympus. He's also in the underworld. He's also a chthonic, whatever, entity at this point, because he has been Zeus defeated time. Right? Whew. Okay. All right. And go ahead. What's the one that was tagged with you? Because I want to get back to where I was going with this. But go ahead.
Hey, this one is from Christian Heinekainen. Can you guys make a new shirt on Teespring? Cargo cult bullshit. The graphic is just an open freight box with every religious and magical symbol pouring out of it just to piss everyone off.
I think if I did it right, I would do it. I'll have to think about that one. I mean, feel free to make it. I can always pay you like $100 for it if I think it'll sell.
Kind of makes me think of the coexist bumper stickers that you see everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with the theory. I mean, I agree with the concept.
I like that. I approve.
That damn chronosome says be great anyway. So you have this situation where humanity has lost its memory. Why do you think Randall Carlson and some other people use the gods with amnesia concept? Species with amnesia, or gods with amnesia, is another version of that statement. Are we gods with amnesia? What if I told you that's basically what we are, the beings we think of as gods? What if I told you humans are throughout the universe, guys? This idea that we started here, maybe. The idea that we're only here, if there was an X in front of me to press to doubt, I would get one of those big, ridiculous circus hammers that you see when they hit the bell. I would take that X, I'd get a running start. I'd be like, bang! I don't think humans are just here. I don't think so. And when I say humans, I mean things we would recognize as humans. They might not even be like us. They might be something different now. Like the Nordics, right? They're supposedly like a relative or our ancient ancestors or something. We're supposed to be a little connected to the Nordics, at least according to certain traditions. Those are the Nordic gods, even the Norse god. That's one theory. Other theory is that's just Nazis flying around in UFOs, by the way. No, I'm serious. That's
No. We got to use the term I came up with. The astro-Nazis.
The astro-Nazis, yeah. The Nordics could just be astro-Nazis. I don't think that. I'm just saying, put that in your bowl of possibilities. Don't just believe shit. Please. Have your mind open and consider all these possibilities and think them through. Have fun with it. Like you always pointed out, what if the Aryans are just aliens and it's just a loss in pronunciation?
Loss in pronunciation. You know how that happens? I'm convinced.
So the Nordics could be just our ancient. So think of it this way. And I'm not, again, people are like, cancel Thorne, he's saying good things about Nazis. I don't give a fuck about good or evil in this case. I'm just trying with facts. What if that's what the Nazis in their occult, not the stuff, not front page Nazism, talking about actual, what the inner order of those people believed. You had the Thule Society, you had the Vril Society, Hitler. Everyone's like, Hitler did it. Hitler's just a figurehead. I'm not saying he didn't have any authority or he didn't have any like control over it. I'm just saying he was like every time, whenever you have a leader of a society, they're not the show. They're the executor. You know what executor is? Like Trump. He's not the one making these plans. Like his 47, whatever, like Agenda 47, I think he's calling it. Do you think he came up with all those by himself? Like D.H. Thorne sitting in his underwear and at 3 a.m. typing on the keyboard, let's come up with it. No, you boob. He is the executor of a collective of people who come up with ideas. He might choose them. He might direct them because he's the executor. He's the chooser, the decider. But he doesn't actually, he come up a little bit, but he doesn't do the lion's share of design. He's not the designer. He's the executor. The designer is actually the one with all the power. Whoever or whatever group that is. They're ultimately the source of everything. And the executor is the one who makes it happen. Again, they may have input. They may serve as the inspiration. You could argue that Hitler inspired a lot of this stuff with his drawings and how they would look. Yes. You said something, honey, or was that just a sound?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you heard you cut it.
No.
CJ asked, someone asked what a cargo cult was. Give me a minute. I'll explain it in a second.
He has another comment below that too. He says, and I want to hear the story you told me again.
I don't know what story I told you now. What story did I tell you? Anyway, I've told you a lot of stories, CJ. I don't remember which one. So let's just hypothetically, I'm not saying this is what happened. I am not one of these Hitler did nothing wrong types. I am an agnostic about the whole thing. I don't know. I was not there, but I know we're being lied to about literally everything. So I am open to the possibility that what was told to us is probably at least partially a lie. Remember, there's front page politics, front page history. That is the matrix. That's not real. That's what they want you to think. The reality is always something else, like the Civil War. It was about slavery. No, it wasn't about slavery. Slavery was used as the excuse, but it wasn't the reason. People who've taught you that slavery was the reason for the Civil War only understand front page history. Back page history, reality of history. You got to look into the French. You got to look into the French. You got to look into the role the French played in our revolution. You got to look into the debts and things and the Illuminati who wanted to, yes.
It's like that one show we were watching where they were talking about the Iraqi war and
yeah, why did we go there?
Why
was it for WMD
and all this other crap and oh no, it was about the weapons and oil and blah blah blah, and it was really about the Sumerian artifacts that they had that went missing.
Yep, that's one very important reasons they probably went there. Yes. Yep.
CJ came back with a response. He says the one where the guy drugged everybody.
Yep, I know what he's talking about. You got to watch Robert Sepper's video about this, but I'll get to that. Actually, it's in a book actually, but I'll get to that shortly as best I can recall it. Let me just finish this line of thought. So what were the Nordic aliens? Do we know that they're Nordic aliens, or what's going on there? Here's my thinking. I think that ancient humanity, some of us escaped, or we didn't come from here. One or the other. I'm open to either one. Either one is possible. You can say we didn't come here, or we didn't originate here. We came here from the Pleiades, or something, or from the Aldebaran, wasn't it? Or was it Aldebaran?
I think it was Aldebaran.
Because I think the Vril Society was saying it's from Aldebaran. I don't know though. Let's just say somewhere out there, right? The Vril Society connected with aliens. They show up psychically or whatever and guide them to build spaceships again, UFOs. This is just I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying this is the UFO Nazi UFO cult, okay? That people will make fun of, but there is historical evidence for. The Russians released pictures and video of the goddamn UFOs. By the way, the Russians have always opposed the Illuminati. That's one of the reasons why we're supposed to hate Russia so bad. By the way, it's one of the reasons why the Bolsheviks took over Russia, because they were pissed. They hated the oligarchs because they were kicking the shit out of the Illuminati everywhere. At the time, they were the Khazarians. Kicked the shit out of them, out of every country they were ever in. So they had their last laugh. They took over with communism, gutted the country and destroyed it. And eventually, I'm not saying they're good guys, but eventually the original people got wrestled control back. And that's why we're supposed to hate them. Even though, why do you think even after the USSR collapsed, NATO still treated them like an enemy? Because it wasn't about the USSR. It was about something else, something worse. Did you guys know that Edgar Cayce said that Russia would eventually save the world? Did you guys ever hear that? Look it up. Edgar Cayce on Russia. Wasn't a big thing. He said, didn't describe it all. He just made it very clear. One day Russia will be the hope of the world. We'll save the world. That's probably what's going on right now, by the way. Just saying. I'm not saying that like the Russians are good guys. I'm saying if you understood what's on the table as the alternative, then you will agree Russia is taking part at the very least in saving the world. If you knew what I know, or believe anyway, if you believed what I believe, you would understand Edgar Cayce was right. Because anyway. So the Nazis, what were they trying to do? They were into eugenics, right? We hear they wanted to create the master race. They weren't trying to create out of whole cloth a master race. They weren't just like, you have to be blonde. I know some of them were like that. Of course, there's plenty of propaganda. It wasn't about just blonde hair and blue eyes. It wasn't about racial purity, being pure white with blonde hair. That's just one expression of what they were talking about. Again, I'm not defending Nazis. Please, there's going to be somebody who's going to, Thoring the Nazi. No. I've been to war against neo-Nazis and racists and bigots like that my whole life. I am not defending them. I'm just trying to say this is an alternative theory of history. You can not believe it. You can debunk it. I'm fine with it. I'm not attached to it. This is just things they don't even want you to consider. Do you understand? They don't even want you to consider what I'm saying. They want you to be blind to even the they want you to laugh at it, not listen to it. But if you do the deep dive, there's reason to believe these things. There is some evidence for it. And if you just discount it because that's not what the official history book says, who writes the history books? The loser? History books are front page history. Real history is not found in a history book, boys and girls. It never has been. I'm not sure even who Jack Parsons is. I've heard of him, but I don't really know. Can't really comment on Jack Parsons. I should look into him a little bit and see.
Real quick.
Yes.
Before we go off on another.
Well, I'm still finishing this one, but.
I was actually going to say I'm probably going to log off now.
What time is it?
It's 12:30.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to end in a few minutes, guys. So I'll get to this final thing by CJ in a minute.
So what if the Nordic aliens, now hear me out. The Nazis were not trying to create the master race. They were trying to recover humanity's birthright. It wasn't that it was dark-skinned people are bad or anything. I'm sure that was some yes, there were absolute, because remember, we're talking about the 1920s, 30s, 40s. So yeah, they were racist pricks, okay? I can guarantee you that. I can pretty much guarantee that. To be fair, to be fair to history as we know it, I'm willing to believe they were racist pieces of shit. I can almost guarantee it. But the concept wasn't to create the master race and rule the world. It was to correct what was done to corrupt the human genome and return it to its ascended state the way it used to be. And another understanding of that is, by the way, it's not necessarily all blonde hair, blue-eyed, and white-skinned. It can be black-skinned. The color of the skin is not fucking important.
It's all about the genes inside it.
Correct. And those genes can express in very diverse ways. Redheads, blondes, these are all people with Rh negative, with similar traits that come from supposedly Atlantis. This is where things get twisted, and they twisted history, so you can't even know it. You can't even contemplate it because it's not there. You have to follow, unfortunately, you have to look at people that will be accused of being Nazi sympathizers to learn about, and you're all afraid of that. Maybe not you guys. We're all afraid of that as a culture. We're not allowed to even hear those people. You know what's ironic? Gen Z doesn't mind, right? Gen Z has this huge crush on Nazi memes. You ever notice that? I find that funny. They don't get triggered by Nazi stuff anywhere near to the degree millennials. Millennials are like, oh my God, it's the Nazis. Gen X is like, Nazis, right? So Gen X is Nazis. Millennials are like, oh my God, Nazis are the worst thing ever. And Gen Z is like, the Nazis are the funniest thing ever. Like, fucking dark ass.
It's the Nazis and the Russians.
Yeah, they find it hilarious because they're so far removed from it, it doesn't have an emotional impact on them anymore. We were all raised watching movies about how bad the Nazis were. Gen Z wasn't. They're just a name on paper to them. So they're like, why is everybody so bent out of shape about it? Yeah, they did some horrible shit, but so did the Russians. So did this group. So they're not going to single them out. You know, like talk to the average Gen Z kid. They won't tell you, but you can tell. Half the funniest Hitler memes come from Gen Z. They're all fucked up and dark. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying the funniest ones do. I am not into that, like the evil, trust me. It is funny, though. I have a sense of humor. It's not funny that people died, no. But I'm not going to walk on eggshells because you're offended because I find reality to be absurd. Okay? Reality is an absurdist abstraction at this point. You can laugh at bad things. If you can't laugh at bad things, I hate your life. Your life must suck. Like, I can find humor in almost anything. Like, we'll be sitting there unloading a truck in the rain. I'll be like, I'll say something funny. I'll try to find a reason that it's funny. There's always something funny about it. If you let yourself see it, you can always find a reason to laugh.
It's a coping mechanism, for one thing.
It is. That's true. Yep. Both ways, to avoid it and to make it funny.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be fair. All right. Of course, I'm qualifying a lot because I am a little scared. I'm on open YouTube. People will misinterpret what I'm saying on purpose, especially these days. But I also don't give a shit anymore. I'll just go to Rumble. Fuck YouTube. If I lose my channel on YouTube, I don't care anymore. Yeah, it'll suck to lose that many subs, but give me a chance to get rid of the shit that I don't do anymore. Anyway. So, what if these Nordic aliens people are encountering, like, I forget what year it was, but that guy in Sweden or wherever it was that was getting visited by Nordic-looking aliens and he had pictures of the UFOs. What if that was just the Nazis? That maybe they weren't even Nazis. They were the Vril Society Nazis. They weren't even really Nazis. Maybe we should make, how about this? Maybe instead of saying they were Nazis, what if Nazis had them with them? What if the Vril Society was not Nazis, but the Nazis took the Vril Society? Instead of having this monolith Nazi, as if they all agreed on everything, right? We don't like it when people use monoliths in a culture, do we? All the gay people think this, all the black people think this, all the white people. That's not reality. So how about this? Let's take the word Nazi out. Let's say the Vril Society and the German occultists in the Nazi party. There, now we're getting somewhere. So the German occultists in the Nazi party, they contact alien beings. They go to Agartha. They figure out how to rebuild Vimanas. They make them look like flying saucers. And by the way, most of the early flying saucers that you see on camera, the photographs look like Nazi flying machines. I'm not kidding. Look it up. Some are almost a spitting image. Die Glock and like all these different things. They look exactly like it.
Mhm.
So what if in the 50s or whenever this Swedish guy or whatever, I think he was Swedish, he's taking these photographs of what he thinks are aliens. What if those, maybe they are Nordic aliens, but what if they are the German occultists in the Nazi party living in Antarctica, perfect their gene reparations, gene reconstruction, and literally this is the result. Correct, Stu. Correct. He says the SS had an inner sanctum of occultists who hunted far and wide for ancient mystical magical knowledge. They had a castle with all kinds of satanic stuff. Where do you think the game, not Doom, Wolfenstein comes from? Wolfenstein is based on this shit. They parody it. Where do you think the movie Iron Sky comes from? They're parodying it.
Remember when we first saw that, we laughed at it?
Yeah, it's laughable.
It was too ridiculous.
I mean, we don't, have you noticed that? Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary. What if we've been lied to about this?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying they were the good guys. The Nazis were probably not the good guys, but that doesn't mean that everything, listen, just because somebody is evil, if they invent the cure for cancer, do you just pretend it doesn't exist because a bad guy wrote it? Like, what if, I don't know, who's the most evil person you can think of that's in, like a serial murder? Like, I don't know, who would it be?
Ed Gein.
Who's that?
Ed Gein.
So think about the most evil Ed Gein character you can imagine. I don't even know who that is, but Ed Gein.
He's the one. He's the one that made the belt out of people's ears and the skin lampshade.
Okay, and great anyway, says Hillary. So let's say Bill Gain and Hillary get together and they pour over their knowledge, and in their basement they invent the cure for cancer. Do you burn their cure for cancer because it came from them? No. Of course not. Not if you're smart. All right. So they develop this and they begin that maybe they get contact with the Galactic Federation. Maybe they do find Nordic aliens. I don't know. Maybe they're Atlanteans from ancient Atlantis. I don't know. I really don't know. Christian, I love you, brother. He says, what if Hitler cured cancer, Morty? The answer, don't think about it. The answer is don't think about it, Morty. I fucking love it. I missed that show. Don't think about it. Just accept it. That's why I love Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is actually, you have to be pretty intelligent to understand Rick and Morty. Stu says, wearing black with skull and crossbones on their hats, like pirates fighting against secret societies as the Toph pirates did. Dude, you just described Captain Harlock. You just described Captain Harlock. Space pirate. All right. So I'm going to leave that there. I was going to try to guide you guys to understand that the secret societies, that some would say the Khazarian mafia, some might say the Anunnaki Nephilim children that still live these bloodlines, whatever your word for them is. Again, like Malachi said, I love how unbiased you are. I'm trying to remain unbiased. I'm just trying to be agnostic with the information. You guys can draw your own conclusions about good, bad, or otherwise. But let us speculate that there is a force on this world, whether it's human, ethereal, interdimensional, whatever, that has corrupted us and wants to keep us enslaved for whatever reason.
I have a feeling it has to do with negative energy production. They're feeding off of us. If I'm taking my childhood prophecies and my experiences with the shadow people, when I wrote Shadownomicon, it was from the mindset that they were just egregores we created. What if I'm a little bit right and wrong? What if it is about your shadow and you do have to do shadow work, but the things I saw were legit negative entities that were hurting us? That's a possibility. Maybe I'm just going crazy again. That's possible too. I'm trying to be objective and rational here. It means I have to keep an open mind to the possibility I'm wrong. And the book that I created helps you actually confront them, not be their victim anymore, by integrating the parts that they feed upon. If I was going to rewrite Shadownomicon, that would be the version I'd write next. I'd correct the record, be like, it still works the same way, but now I understand better. Maybe, but I don't quite know yet. Working on it. So what if there are beings devouring our energy? I'm an energy vampire. I feed off of people's energy. And if I really want it, I will break you to get it. And unfortunately, negative energy, it empowers you, but it hurts you. That's the fucked up thing about it. That's why it's a little addictive. You can get addictive to negative energy. It doesn't quite sustain you, but it invigorates you. And you're like, "Argh!" And that makes you feel powerful. It's the dark side of the force. There's nothing wrong with it in moderation, as part of a symbiotic flow. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're pulling that in to empower yourself because you have a deficit, it's like you're addicted to caffeine or something. You're addicted to crack or cocaine. It's not good for you. Even if it gives you energy, it's fucking with you. Correct, be great anyway. Something has to consume. And this is why most enlightened cultures would tell you shadow people themselves are not evil. They are like maggots that devour the negative energies. But maggots can overpopulate and become an illness, right? Think of it that way. What if that's what happened? We picked up a parasite that feeds off of negative energy. It dragged humanity down and kept us down. And these elite societies made pacts with them to rule the world. What if that's what happened? I'm serious. What if that is what happened? What if that is exactly what happened? What if that's why humanity, this planet, is a prison planet? The rest of the universe doesn't want this shit getting out. What if that's what happened? What if we're quarantined? That's why we don't see aliens. Just a thought. Just think about it. All right. So let's go back to CJ's question. The point, though, I'm getting at is these fuckers that are ruling the world don't want you to know not only your true origins, not only your birthright, not only that, they don't want you to know the true metaphysics of reality, because if you do, you will start to climb back up the rung of ascension. You will eventually figure out how to fix your DNA. Maybe there's something more than physical to it. Maybe you have to do meditative things, like people say spirit DNA, and that repairs your body. I don't know. There could be something to that, or it could be just a fucking new age YouTube view machine. Like that, it could be all it is. But it could be true on some level. Don't forget that what was the biggest thing that humanity was doing at the turn of the century? Not 2000, I mean 1918 to 1900s. Genetics. Literally discovered about 10 minutes from where I grew up in Cold Spring Harbor. Cold Spring Harbor Lab is where the human gene was finally decoded, and they were buddies with Hitler. They were buddies with the Nazis. They were all in cahoots. People don't know that. Look it up. It was all about genetics. It was about restoring, guys. It's so obvious when you when you see the whole picture, even though it's not complete because there's a lot of puzzle pieces missing, you go, oh, that's a picture of a caterpillar climbing a leaf, right? There's enough pieces you can figure out what it's showing, but you don't know all the details, but you know what it's representing. I can see that picture enough to say, this is what I think was happening. I think they were trying to reconstruct what was taken from us. And that pissed off somebody. And there was some kind of thing, and everybody got into a war, and blah, 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 boom, bang, boom, and that ended for us. Humanity remained enslaved or whatever. Again, I'm not saying Nazis were the good guys. This is just the other side of history that we don't know. We have to speculate because we don't know. We're not allowed to know. If you go looking, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a Nazi. No, I'm not. I just want to know the truth.
It's the side that gets deleted from history.
Yeah, correct.
Like, what if it just proves how much worse they are? What if that's the case? Can we know? Can we investigate? You can't even ask without being ridiculed? Okay. That tells me there's something there you don't want me to know. Why do you think I laugh whenever I do a video and I see a fact check? Like if I do a video about the Anunnaki or something, there's always a fact check. The Anunnaki where this, why are you so fucking paranoid about what I'm saying about the Anunnaki? You don't do that when I talk about the Greeks. You don't do that when I talk about the Egyptians. Why is it when anybody makes a video about the Anunnaki, YouTube puts a fucking Wikipedia article in there? Why? To correct the record. Why? People say a lot of dumb shit about Africa, about Egypt, about every other culture. They don't put a fact checker under that. You ask about Anunnaki, bam, YouTube wants you to know you're stupid, wrong, and this is what you're supposed to think. Excuse me? Methinks you protest too much, motherfucker. I grew up on the streets. I know how to spot a fucking con job, you fucker. I know when somebody's lying to me. Nah. You're not fooling anybody except the stupids that you made. I'm not one of them. You didn't make me. I made myself. All right. Anyway, CJ, I apologize. Let me get to this story really quick. This comes from Robert Sepper. I don't know anything about this otherwise. I don't even remember the whole story. Okay. This is the thing. Like, he wants me to tell a story that I remember like 5 details from. So the guy who started the Assassins was, I forget what his spiritual background was, but I don't know if he was like a Gnostic or what. But he became powerful because he would invite, so there would be these people that wanted to join the Assassins or whatever. And he would get them to come to like this beautiful banquet. And he would, I don't remember if it was like they gave him this proposition or not first. Like, so this is the problem. I don't remember all the details. CJ, I should smack you for making me say this story because I don't remember the details. You got to watch the Robert Sepper video on this. He does such a good job. If I could run in the back and get the book, but I'd have to find the chapter. This guy basically would recruit people to serve him to the death, to pledge their lives to him. Because they would come and he would treat them to a banquet where they would, so he would say, listen, if you serve me, I will ensure that you spend eternity in paradise, the Muslim paradise. So you go there and there's like the virgins and all that shit. You serve me, you get the virgins. You get that ending if you serve me because I have a direct line to Allah or whatever. Okay. Again, I don't remember all the nitty gritty. So please, if I'm getting any of this stuff wrong, understand I'm literally like, I heard this once and I'm telling you the story and I barely remember it now because it was like 6 months ago. I think I told CJ this story. Like I'm third hand, not even second hand. I'm third hand. So they would come to this banquet. He would get them drunk on drink, food, and opium. He'd fuck them up. They'd pass out. And he would, while they were passed out, he would have his men gather this person up. They would take them to a remote location nearby, like it's remote, but it's nearby, that nobody knows about, a secret location. And this secret location, I guess, was his harem or something. Okay. And it was a paradise on earth. It was set up so that you would wake up, you're groggy because you've been drugged, you feel like you died. Like you got hit with so much opium and shit, you feel like you OD'd and died. And you wake up in literally paradise. You wake up groggy like, what the hell? You get to your feet, and before you even make it all the way to your feet, some woman is sucking your dick, literally. Literally, it's in the literature. The first thing that would happen is like, the first thing, just your dick goes in a mouth, and they start pleasuring you and calling you holy and great king, and they wait on you hand and foot. You are given a solid 24 hours of heaven on earth. Every pleasure, drugs, the whole works. You are just euphoric the whole time. And then when the day comes to an end, you finish with another feast. You get hit with opium again. You're knocked the hell out. And they bring you back to this guy's palace or whatever, this guy's secret location where he first met you. And he says, there, that was your taste of paradise. You can experience that forever and ever if you serve me to the death. And that's how he got the most loyal network of assassins, spies, etc. And it's not just Robert Sepper. I'm pretty sure this is actual history you can look up. It's a little bit forbidden because it's these people, right? And these people are connected to this other stuff. This is all interwoven, by the way. It's not just one. This isn't just one separate faction. This is connected to what's going on now, too. People are ignorant because they have been given front page history, front page spirituality, front page mysticism. Everything's front page. And most people, that's as far as they go. Listen, you guys know what headline politics are? The average person only reads the headline and that's all they read and that's how they form their opinions. Raise your hand in the chat if you're guilty of that being you. How many of you guys, that's the extent of your knowledge of politics? You see a headline, you don't go deeper. Well, you're a drone. No offense. You can change. Right now, you're a drone. You want to be a free living human? Stop doing that. Stop going by front page history. Stop going by what the authorities tell you. Hear what they tell you. Use that as your control group, and then start searching for the extremes and then see what makes more sense. I guarantee you that mainstream orthodox story, it's front page bullshit, just like Fox, MSNBC, and CNN. It's complete bullshit.
Make sure you do it for the opposite too. Make sure you check out the conspiracies and really research them, because there's so many people that look into these conspiracies and they get the basic gist and they don't know shit about it and they spew it like it's all true.
Yep. So, yeah, Malachi, it sounds like some fucking gangster Jesus shit. Literally. I think they even considered him the Messiah. I could be wrong. He might have even been considered the Messiah to these people that he did this to. So that could be correct. So think about that. You want to have a cult? Do that. Oh, and they still do, by the way. What do you think Epstein Island type shit is? It's like the invert of that. But they do that there too. You don't think that they do that kind of shit to dum-dums? So, okay, Bill Gates, they didn't do that to Bill Gates, right? Let's be fair. They didn't take Bill Gates, drug him up, suck his dick, and make him believe that he was going to go to the afterlife. But that third world terrorist, that cartel leader who's got the education of a fourth grader, who believes that when the sun is under the horizon, it's literally out. It's no longer light anymore. Like some of these people walking around you literally don't know that the sun doesn't turn off. I'm not kidding. I know one like that. They literally don't know. You have to explain it to them and they go, oh, it doesn't make sense.
Well,
because it's dark at night. So
why don't we just go there at night?
Yeah. Why don't we go there at night? We can land there at night.
We can land on the sun at night.
They're like children. They don't know. They're innocent children. They don't know. So when you take those people and you go, drug them up, suck his dick, and make him a fucking slave, it works. Every time. Guess what they want you to be? Why do you think religion exists? Why do you think Christianity said, do what I tell you and you go to heaven? It's the same fucking trick. Except they did it through fear and coercion instead of getting your dick sucked. I guarantee you that if you went to church, they drugged you, and you woke up in heaven getting your dick sucked, and then you woke up the next day back in church, you would go to church every Sunday, wouldn't you? Shit, I'd go. Sorry, honey, but I'd go.
I was thinking something similar.
You'd go too, wouldn't you? We'd hold hands. Oh, this is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, this is pretty good. Dude, that guy's fucking... I hate this. I'm so jealous, but god damn. We're not swingers. Don't get your hopes up.
No.
So, but there's extreme situations where you never know. Let me do the Bill Cosby thing. There are some extreme situations where if I was drugged enough, you never know. So that's the point. You get that's what.
I mean, it feels like a dream.
It's worse, CJ. Not only did they manage to do it without drugging them, they drugged them with fear instead. right? They get them with coercion and fear instead. That's even worse. Like, when I listen to this Hassassin leader guy, I don't sit there and go, what an evil bastard. I mean, I do, but I go, at least he gave him a good blowjob first, for fuck's sake, right? At least he gave him a day in paradise before he expected him to be loyal. These other fuckers just go, if you don't be loyal, we're going to kill you and your soul too. Oof. Oof. So, this video stream is all over the place. I hope you guys got some interesting thoughts to consider. I would like to recommend a guy who I just tried to befriend, but he doesn't seem to want to do anything with me. But I'm not going to disrespect him, even though I don't think he respects me. That's just the vibe I get. He said he's busy, but that's probably true. I should take him at his word. I take that back. I'm going to take him at his word. I think he was sincere. I tried to ask him if he wanted to chat or do some collaborations, and I sent him some stuff, and he said he doesn't have time. And that's the answer I give people when I sometimes just don't want to be fair. I spare your feelings by saying I can't. That's common, right? Everybody, if you're a content creator, you want to be honest to everybody, but you can't. It's just impossible. You can't be honest with everybody who DMs you. Okay. I'm very interested in having you on my show. I don't want to do it. Why not? I don't know. I just don't, man. So what do? You just say I can't. And just this way, if they're wise, they'll respect that and say thank you. So, but I want to recommend his channel. Yes, he is love and light, sort of, but he is actually enlightened to a degree. So he is not some superficial false love and light guy. He's actually quite respectable. I like his work a lot. He is wicked intelligent. I feel like this would be iron sharpening iron if he and I had a conversation. It would not be me teaching him, and he wouldn't be, we would be very good company, because he has another perspective that's similar enough. We're resonating, but he comes from he still uses Christian terminology. He thinks that the New World Order is satanic. I recognize that Satan is a scapegoat for them. They don't believe in Satan. They use Satan as a scapegoat, so you get mad at that, not their true masters, which ain't Satan. But it is the inspiration for Satan. That is true. It's not objectively Satan. It is objectively bad, and is the source of that satanic archetype. The bad Satan, not the good guy Satan left-hand path people think they know. Oh, hail Satan. It's an egregore, sorry. It's a title. You're playing with yourself. I'm not saying in the multiverse it's not there. I've never connected to that, whatever that is. I've tried, and it's never been anything more than just another egregore with a voice. It's never felt real. Not even as a kid when I believed in Satan. It always felt like a bullshit story to scare kids out of being bad. Because when you read the Bible, really, Satan is a fucking title, and it's never the same guy, and it's one of the Elohim. In fact, it's not one of the Elohim, it's any of the Elohim at any time. Then you get into more sophisticated Judaism, and you find out that it's usually Samael, who's the accuser, who's the tester of humanity, the left hand of God, the angel of death. Saturn. Hi. Over and over and over again. We perish for a lack of knowledge or wisdom. Same thing. True knowledge, gnosis. We perish for a lack of gnosis. And because we lack gnosis, and that gnosis is not the specific words, it's the direction that I'm pointing you in. I might have like 80% of this right and 20% of it wrong, but I'm pointing you in the right direction anyway. You'd be like, well, actually, Zamael's not Satan. Okay, it's not Saturn. Saturn and Satan aren't the same thing. Okay, fine. You don't see it that way. I'm cool with that. I really don't care. But that is one interpretation of this stuff, and that's the one that I am learning, and I do agree with because it makes sense. It fits. It's like putting a round peg in a square hole. All of these other Satanism and all this, they're like trying to put round pegs, but when you get the full picture, you see where they go and you go, okay, now it makes sense. It's a square in a square. It makes sense. Why do you think about a month ago I did a live stream where I said, it's time to throw away all of your dogmatic beliefs as of now, because we're about to find out a lot of this. I don't mean we're going to have it all revealed this year, next year, the year after, but soon a lot of this shit is going to be soft disclosed. It's not going to be mainstream knowledge. It's going to be soft disclosure, fringe knowledge, but it will be released. It will be there, and people will start to see that what's real and what's not. And before you know it, we're going to have a revolution of history, anthropology, science, mysticism, and metaphysics. You bet your ass, and it probably will really start in our lifetime. I don't know if we'll live long enough to see it come to fruition, but we will see it start. We're already seeing it start, but you're going to recognize it. I recognize it, but I'm not a leader, but I'm an Aries. I'm a head. You guys can follow me if you want. I'd rather you join me, but you don't have to follow me. I just go, hey, look, a rock cliff. Let's go see what's up there. And I go there first. I'm a little ahead of people. That's all. I'm not special. I'm just more adventurous. And I want to climb that mountain. I want to see what's there. I don't want to be your leader. That's a Leo. Leo's like, follow me, bitches. I'm the best. And Aries is like, fuck you. Follow me or don't. I really don't care. I'm going that way. And people admire that, and so they follow it. But I don't seek followers. I don't want that. I never did. I thought I did, like a long time ago. And then I realized that was stupid. That was the worst thing. That destroyed me. It was like the worst thing ever. Because it wasn't me anymore. It was like what they wanted me to be. I hate that shit. All right, guys, let's call it, right, Camilla? I just realized what time it is. So I hope that satisfied everybody. I hope you got your thorn fixed for the week. All of my stuff from here on out is going to be integrating these things that I'm talking about. Whatever books I write will probably contain elements of this stuff. All of this is part of my new, when I get through the rebranding and I actually release something, this is what it's going to look like, is stuff like this, but more refined. It's going to stop being thorn ranting. It's going to be, I've got this proof. I've got this idea. I got this. I got that. I'm going to try to get guests on that know these ideas, people who have deep dived this stuff, whether they're experts or just armchair people that watch other people and they get these. I want to build, Thorn Hub is going to change into this stuff with mysticism in it. And yes, sorceress practices, yes, but they are siddhi. It's always siddhi. It's always psychic powers applied to routinized practices that lead to manifestations of your intention. Let's make it simple. This is where we're going. This is where I'm going. And it's going to be irreverent to the sacred cows of society. It is going to be unashamed. It's going to be, fuck you, I want the truth. Yes, some things may have to be like an inner order knowledge because the general public can't handle it, but it won't be secret. It's just, you know what? We don't want everybody to know what we know yet because society's not ready, but we're not keeping it secret. There is a difference. It's like, hey, this is personal for now. That's all. Is something personal a secret? No, it's just, this is about me. It's not about you. So think of like an inner order like that. But it's not going to be like our secret ambition is to take over the world. No, 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 no. I'm a libertarian. My ambition is to take over the world and leave you alone. I want to be king of the world to leave you alone. You know what I would do if I was emperor of the world with all power ever? I would eradicate the bullshit lies. I would do whatever it took to get humanity to reset into as close to factory setting. I don't mean living in huts. I mean factory setting of knowledge that we should have had that we lost. And then I would be like, done. And I would go off in my pleasure yacht into space, and you guys could fuck around and find out some more. Hopefully you don't fall for the same trick this time. I'm not interested in ruling the planet. I want to set it free and then leave. I want to be like, and then come back a little later and see what happened. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be here, stuck in this place of lies. I want to help liberate this planet so I don't have to come the fuck back. Except to celebrate, to be like, hey, look what you did. This is fucking dope. Look what we did. Maybe I'll learn something from the future incarnations of humanity that figured it out. That'd be dope. God, that would be awesome. I don't want to rule it. I want to set it free and let it be its best self. If that doesn't sound like Satan from fucking I'm a fan of man from fucking the devil's, I'm a fan of man, motherfucker. That's how I want to free you to be the best you can be. Not to rule, just to be the best you can be. Not somebody's slave. All right. So Camilla, I'm really offended that you talk so much to me, and I'm kidding. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody give Camilla a beautiful compliment on her beautiful hair. She looks glorious, especially all fuzzy. She's got like the Captain Kirk fuzz going on. Oh, there it goes. It came back.
Oh, the filter they put on, the soft filter.
Yeah, you ever notice like they'd zoom in on like whenever there was a love moment, right? Like doo 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 doo, and they like zoop, and like the girl would be all fuzzy.
The guy always had like the sharpest freaking lines.
Yeah, like especially when it was like serious, it was like way too sharp. But whenever it was love, it was like so they'd soften the lens.
It was
So
just low.
so thank you guys. I appreciate everybody's super chats. I appreciate everybody being open-minded and understanding that I am trying to be as unbiased as I can, to be agnostic about the truth, to simply get to the matter and not judge it. You can judge you can judge everything you want, but don't judge the truth. The truth is the truth. If the truth sucks, okay. If the truth may be we are wrong about everything. I think we are. I think we're wrong about everything, and we've got to be open to the things that make us uncomfortable. That's shadow work. Humanity needs to do massive shadow work. Why do you think we did the Shadowgate project? Humanity needs to do the shadow work, the whole species. And I don't just mean personal shadow work, I mean societal shadow work. What is the truth of society? What are we hiding from ourselves? I think that's one of the things. The truth about what really went down behind the scenes, not front page World War II, actual World War II, not front page Civil War, actual Civil War. Not front page 9. How many of you guys believe front page 9/11? Do you believe front page 9/11? Any of you? How many of you? One? If so, I'm sorry. If you believe front page 9/11, you're a fool. You see what I'm saying? Do you believe front page 9/11? If you don't believe front page 9/11, why do you believe front page World War II? Why do you believe front page Vietnam? Why do you believe front page Pearl Harbor? Why do you believe front page anything? It's all front page lies. It's all 9/11 lies. All of it.
And continue to not believe. Don't believe what's going on with China.
Yeah. All of it. That's right, CJ. He says, if the news now is getting manipulated, imagine history.
Yeah.
Imagine science. Imagine anthropology. Imagine everything. Imagine the food you eat. Dude, do some deep dives into preservatives. That shit's poison, and you can't get away from it in America. You have to have your own, you have to live off grid and grow your own food to even get close. You can't buy it in the store. Every vegetable, you have to go to it's not even organic. You can go to Trader Joe's all day and it's still full of shit. They've poisoned us. They've lied to us. They've degraded you. Your porn is degenerate now. It's not just I'm fucking people. It's what are you doing, step bro? Yeah, that's kinky. But does that many people actually like incest porn? No, I don't like it, but that's half the porn. You can't get away from it. Dude, can't you see what's going on? Oh no, don't be a prude. I'm not a prude. You're just degenerate. There is a difference. Yes, CJ, you did. There is a difference between being prude and degenerate. Or prude and normal and then degenerate. There is a difference. Just because I'm normal and don't think that stuff, I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't find that interesting. You're a human being and you're a god. You have a right. But at the same time, can't you see how this is poisonous if it's not checked by moderation? Look, anything is poison in excess. Air will kill you in excess. Water will kill you in excess. Vitamin C can kill you in excess, I guess. I don't know. I have to look that up. You get what I'm saying, though? Anything is poison in enough quantity. And if they're just bombarding you with degenerate bullshit, and I don't just mean degenerate because it's porn, I mean degenerate like it's stupid information, it's too convenient, it's TikTok videos that are 2 seconds long and you can't focus. It's all poison. In moderation, it's all fine. But in these quantities, in this degree, if you can't tell it's poison, I'm not a boomer, you're stupid. You sound like I did when I was 13. Then I realized, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there is a little too much of this. So anyway, guys, I'm done. I'm ranting. I'm having fun. I want to thank you all again. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you, Camilla. And I will check you guys out next week. Maybe Camilla will join me again. I do like having Camilla on. It's a lot of fun. Do you guys like having Camilla on with me? It gives you some nice eye candy to look at. Don't be eye humping my wife, you fuckers. All right. So I will check you guys soon. We will hang out next week for sure. Yeah, watch this space.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
So much ranting. So much. I have to just start